Hey, what is going on, everybody? Let's see, give me one sec. Want to make sure we're actually live now. Hmm. Hey, we got a member already. Look at that. Nice. Thank you, Ruthadeemer. Thank you. Amanda, good to see you in here, even if it might not be for much. Naomi, hey, what's going on? All right, let me go ahead and switch to monitor one. Um, so I was sitting here. I know I got here a little bit early, but I was sitting at the computer anyways, and I was playing, some of my World of Warcraft, one of the best games ever made. Um, Thought I would just go ahead and start the stream a little bit early. See how many people we get in right around the 7 minute or what am I trying to say? 7 o'clock time. So we're basically just gonna sit here and just mess around for a little bit. Yeah, this is I've been playing this game for 16 years, off and on now. Oh, and I just noticed the game sound isn't actually going through what I want it to. There we go. Whoa, that is loud. Oh my gosh. Oof. All right, that might be a little better. Zachary, good to see you in here as well. Elquin Gina, we got a new face in here. Hey there, how are you tonight? So, I know the quality is gonna kind of suck, guys. I have my streaming. I mean, the voice should be fine, but I have the streaming for the visual is extremely low. I've got that very low just because my internet is so bad. So that's got to be almost at the bottom, but it doesn't really matter because we're not really, even when we do the stream, we're not actually really watching anything anyways. It's just, me talking. Oh man, I got to get up there. Let's see. How do I get up there? So there we go.
I can't carry anymore.
Oh wow, it's midnight over there, Naomi, huh? Where do you live, Naomi? What part of the world do you live in? Is that's England, right? And let me go ahead and set, let's see, video sneak peek. All right, I'm going to put a goal of 10 super chats for tonight. Now, I don't actually, that's what the goal is going to be because I can't set what I actually want to do. I thought so, Naomi. Uh, the real goal is if we can just hit 25 bucks in terms of between super chats and people joining as a member. If we can hit 25 bucks for that, then and I'll try to keep track of it on the side here. Then I've got a 35-minute video set for tomorrow, and if we can hit that goal, I will go ahead and play the whole 35-minute video as a little sneak peek for tomorrow's upload. So if you're here for the stream, you get the upload one day early, which is kind of cool. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. Thank you so much. What do you do for work, Amanda?
Recharging.
Yeah, there's been a heat wave over here. One sec, already got him. Oh, that's right, I turned off chat just in case somebody says something crazy. There's been a heat wave over there, not really hot. So it's been really hot, but I love it, so not complaining. Yeah, I don't know what a heat wave is like over in the UK, but right now, where I live in Virginia, we're getting, our next 5 days are going to be over with the heat index. The next 5 days is like 105 degrees or something like that. I do not like the heat. I'm not saying I like the cold either, but I do like the cold more than the heat. In terms of actual weather, I do like cold weather more, but you can do, more stuff in the heat than you can in the cold. So, I think my favorite, I know my favorite season is definitely fall. That's got kind of the perfect weather, perfect temperature. You can go out and still do whatever you want. The days are, cool, a little warm, crisp, a little cool. The nights are cool, which feels good. You're welcome, Elquingina. Very awesome. Matt Reed. Kevin, love listening to Creepypasta. Thank you, sir. You are very welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. A pilot truck stop here in Iowa. Oh, that sounds cool. I bet you got some stories, don't you? Final Fantasy 14. That's something that I've never been averse to. I've just never actually just tried it. I should though. Cisco, good to see you, man. I don't know if you just popped in, but the goal tonight says 10 super chats, but it's actually $25 mixed between super chats and memberships if people join or get gifted. So if we hit $25 in combination for that, then I'm going to play the entire video of tomorrow's upload, probably at the end of the stream, or maybe do a little intermission with it. I don't know, depending on how long we go tonight. The plan is, as always, at least 2 hours, but maybe we'll make it a little bit longer than that. Maybe we'll hit 3. And right now, don't worry, y'all aren't gonna watch me play World of Warcraft on the lowest, 240p. That's not going to last too long, just while we get some more people in here. I have not played 7 Days to Die. I have not. I really should try. Final Fantasy, though, because honestly, I think World of Warcraft is one of the best games ever made, but World of Warcraft sucks now. I mean, it's nowhere near the game that it used to be, unfortunately. I remember being like 14 years old playing this game with my dad. Some of the coolest memories ever. Right now this is the Burning Crusade Classic Edition. I've been playing retail, but retail has been just kind of boring lately, and it's just the same stuff over. So is Classic, but I decided to try out Classic again because I need a game. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for the 199s. Thank you so much. I need a game that you can play monotonously in the background, and Classic is just perfect for that. Retail, you can't really do that as much. The water is really loud in here. There we go. Yeah, I've been playing WoW off and on for at least, I guess, 16 years now. Maybe almost. Well, I'm 32, and I've been playing since I was 14. Damn, 18 years. That's nuts. I cannot believe this game is that old. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for the $4.99. That is so sweet. Maybe we might hit that goal sooner than I thought. I would love to play y'all tonight's video or tomorrow's video. It's got Dexter in it. It is a William Rain story, and it's called We Built a Portal Gun. It's about 32, 35 minutes long. Dex plays one of the main antagonists in it, and I had a fun time recording that one. That was a good story. I missed the Guild Wars days, Amanda. Ah, a little Guild Wars fan in here. Okay, okay. I played Guild Wars 2 when they released that, like maybe 12 years ago. I'm not sure how long it's been now. I can't remember if I was an adult when that came in or if I was like, 17 or 18. Thank you so much, Naomi. I always get a smile when I see a lot of the OGs comment on the videos. I love it. And I see your comments every single day, so thank you.
Later.
Let's turn in some quests here.
How you doing, man?
It's so crazy how different modern day WoW is from, classic WoW. Like, I think classic WoW probably actually is a little bit better, but there is so much quality of life that changes that, modern day WoW has over classic WoW that it's pretty nuts. It's pretty, and you don't realize how different the game is when you go ahead and you play modern day WoW and then play classic. Manic Cryptic, good to see you in here tonight. Good to see you. Good to see you. El Quingina, that is a very good point. I would rather up my support on Patreon than here on YouTube after how they treated you. That is a very good point. I love having people on the YouTube membership, but Patreon does give the greatest effect in terms of helping the channel. But I know that doing YouTube memberships is just a lot more easy and a lot more convenient because not everybody wants to get on Patreon, which I completely understand. I mean, it's a completely different app. Then you got to download that. Then you got to mess with their mini player. So completely understand people who also want to just do on YouTube because it's just so much more convenient. And YouTube does. I mean, if you look at any of the video playing services, YouTube does just have the best interface. Gosh, I'm watching the stream also on my new second monitor that I got the other week, and it is just crazy how bad the visual is because that's how bad my internet is that I have to put. I think I had the bitrate down to like 1500. Because, y'all know, we don't know when my internet's going to crash out and then, go absolutely bonkers. Hopefully it holds out all night tonight. Matt Reed, how long have you been a voice actor, and best advice? I don't really care about the pay, just think this would be interesting to be in a story. My first story was the Hell series and I was hooked. So I've been a voice actor only since I started the channel, and I started the channel with no experience, and you can definitely tell that if you go to the older videos. So whenever I started the channel in 2020, I guess 2021, I might have started the channel in. So I guess I've been a voice actor now for 5 years. No voice lessons, haven't been trained, never been in theater as a kid. Not classically trained in any way, just decided to sit down, or actually, when I did my first videos, I was in my closet, and I remember I was laying on the floor, and all my clothes were above me, and I was just speaking into my phone, reading the stories directly off of my phone. That's when I first started. Yep, Amanda knows. Although I am Team Samsung. As much as that might kill some people in here. But I've had my Samsung phone for, I've had this one for 3.5 years now. And I think I might finally let my wife convince me to get an iPhone. Just because it is so annoying. Like, if you have a Samsung and someone has an iPhone, it is just a super buzzkill. You know, you can't join in groups, you know, conversations the same way. I would love to be able to FaceTime people, you know, and you can't do that if they have a different device. Kevin, if you enjoyed WoW, you will love Final Fantasy XIV. The storyline will hook you. You can try it for free, I believe. I'm going to have to look into that, I think. Oh, and Matt, the best advice. The best advice I could probably give. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure what advice I would give. I mean, okay, yeah, all right. So the best advice I would give, and it's going to seem like, well, duh, that's not even an advice. You know, it's so basic. But the best advice really is to, if you want to voice act, you have to just start reading out loud.
I need to target something first. I don't have
You have to start reading out loud. That is what's going to get you your best improvement, I should say, is reading out loud. That's what you have to do. And you have to record yourself, and you have to listen to it. And I know people hate listening to their own voice. I will say I hate hearing my voice when I hear it like in a video. Like if someone takes like a cell phone video, or you know, I bought a very nice camcorder when my daughter was born, so I could have it at the hospital and everything. And you know, I hate hearing my voice on that damn thing. And if I turned the stream on right now, I'd probably hate it too. But you just gotta listen to yourself. You gotta listen to yourself. You gotta read out loud, because a lot of people too have like very, very slight, or some people have like glaring speech impediments, or like a little bit of a lisp that they don't even realize until they actually hear themselves on a video somewhere, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've been speaking like this my whole life." So you might not even know, you know, because a lot of people are too nice to point that kind of stuff out. Let's see. Yeah, also, Amanda, yeah, just keep trying, especially if you do a YouTube channel. I mean, YouTube can be brutal. It can be absolutely brutal, especially you know, I get comments all the time, and I'm not gonna lie, I think I should be way above 26,000 subs. And not even trying to say that as like a cocky, like you know, douchebag way. But even me at like 5-6 years into this, and I see I'm at 26K, and I'm super grateful for every sub. But I'm like, man, I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm at 26,000, and that is a big number. But even I look at that sometimes, and I'm like, gosh, what the hell? And I feel like I should be higher than that, and I do think I should. And you know, everyone should think that they should, you know, be better in that extent, or else you're not properly believing in yourself in a way. Especially when I look around and I see other channels, and I'm like, geez, that guy is at 50K, or that guy's at 70K. So it can be a little demoralizing, but just keep going. You know, you'll get there eventually. And you know, YouTube, the way you grow on YouTube is really you grow in spurts of virality, is how it works. So, you know, for 3 months straight, you might only be getting 5 or 10 subscribers a day, and then all of a sudden one video catches on, and then for like a month you'll get like 30 a day, you know, and then that video kind of dies out. Or it keeps going depending on how good it is, and then things kind of settle down for a few months until you get another good video that just kind of goes viral again. And that's how YouTube works. All right, I'm going to give it maybe 5 more minutes, and then we will just dive into what I got on the agenda today. Thank you, Eloquent Gina. I've upped my membership on Patreon. Hope that helps. Thank you. It does help. Every single thing helps. Patreon is really nice because, like, right now it makes, and I have it all public. You know, Patreon makes something like $185 to $200 a month, and you know that helps tremendously because it's just kind of it's a little thing that's in the background that I know just kind of slowly trucks along, and it's a good 200 that I can somewhat rely on. I can rely on unless people cancel, but I can rely on that. Whereas YouTube just has shown they can't be relied upon at this point. So and you know, the Patreon, I still haven't built the studio yet. I want to so bad. I'm still a little bit worried about how heavy it's going to be on the second floor. It's going to be probably 800 pounds, and I can get that down to, you know, maybe 550 pounds. But I want the studio to be soundproof. And not soundproof, which meaning my voice getting out. I need no sound to get in. Because my space right now is completely good. It's good for YouTube. It's good for all kinds of stuff. But I want a professional sounding studio where I want my noise floor to be extremely low. And at the moment, it just isn't. And my noise floor isn't bad, but I want to, you know, hopefully one day start doing like professional work. Because those guys once you get the connections and you get all that stuff, you make crazy money. I mean, places will pay you like $500 for 30 seconds of your voice, which will be awesome. So yeah, it's gonna be super heavy if I want it to be soundproof, because I don't want my AC HVAC unit buzzing in the background. Like, it doesn't now, like you don't hear it in videos, but there is a slight, you know, it just ups the noise floor. It ups the noise floor, and some of that stuff can be a little bit more, you know, when you put a video out, to negate that, I have to remove the background noise, which is that slight bass rumble. And anytime you remove sound in a video, you are damaging the audio to an extent. So I want to not do that. Especially when you go into compression and you equalize things, it can up some of those noises. All right. Let's see. Let's get on the road here. You know what? I think we're good to exit. All right. So these. One second. Let me. I meant to clear my screen of everything beforehand. But that's all good. All right, so this is all that I want. Oh, also, I'm gonna have silent. This is one of my favorite Mayu pieces of all, and you'll hear it's one of my most heavily used in videos. I'm going to play this in the background. Let me know how that sound level is. If it's a little bit too loud or a little bit. Yeah, let me know how it sounds. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell because I'm talking. I feel like I might need to turn that down a little bit, but okay, let's close that out. We can close that. Let's see. Let's go to there. All right. Yeah, I listen to a lot of like debates, and I listen to a lot of debates. I listen to a lot of like video essays. I listen to a lot of bowling videos. All right, where are we at? So I feel like that might be a little too loud, actually. Yeah. All right, let me. That might be good. All right. So, what is on the agenda tonight? Well, we've got Tribal Jail Officer. I recorded like 15 minutes of that since the last one, so when I'm ready to play this, I'm going to go ahead and just go back to like an hour and 52 or whatever it was we were at, and then I'll let that play. And then we're going to continue on this for a little bit. And then I'm debating. This is a Saturday story, Shrink Wrap. We might read that. Excuse me, y'all might hear a little bit, some like burp in a little bit or something. I'm 24 hours into a 48-hour fast, so pardon me on any of that. This is one that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. It's one of my favorites. When I was a kid, I joined a freak show. I did that video maybe 2 years ago, maybe even 2.5 or 3 at this point, I guess. This is the sequel. If you haven't listened to that, that is an incredible story. It's written by Voodoo Clerk, the same guy who wrote I Work at a Half-Price Voodoo Shop. He and someone else wrote, his co-author wrote The Freak Show. That's like a 4-hour story, so if you want something nice to fall asleep to tonight, go ahead and give that a listen. And it's just an awesome story. I really like it. Let me take these headphones off now. There we go. This is the sequel to The Freak Show. I don't think we're going to work on this tonight, although maybe we'll start it. Who knows? I would love to have Tribal Officer out this month. It will definitely be out this month. It's going to come out in part 1, and then I hate to do this, but it's so long. I don't know if it's going to get a lot of clicks or not. It'll be part 1, and that'll be like about 2 hours long, and then part 2 will be about 2 hours long. So we're looking at part 1 will come out, and then I'll have part 2 come out a week later, and then like a month after that, because you can't put the compilation out right after part 2 comes out, because then a lot of people won't click on it because they I listened to part 1 and part 2 as it came out. I don't need to click on the complete version. So you got to give a little bit of time. Especially, you got to give time when people see the same title a few times in a row. Liz, thank you so much. I just saw I got a notification on my phone. Thank you for the $5 Patreon membership. That is freaking awesome. Thank you. Ooh, my wife just messaged me too. Mom made some steak fajitas and packed you some. My wife hates it when I fast, guys. She cannot stand me fasting. So anytime I'm on a fast, she tries to break me. And half the time it works. Let me respond to her. Oh yeah, Macho Man. All right. Let's see. I guess I'll. So the last thing I ate was 9 o'clock. I had some Domino's while I watched House of the Dragon season 2, episode 2. I had a nice pan pizza. I crushed that whole thing. I ate that at 9 o'clock. So I won't eat probably. I got my bowling league tomorrow where we bowl on professional oil patterns. I might not even eat. That's at like 6:30. I might not even eat before that. But if I'm a little jittery, I'll eat before that just to give myself a little something. But stay strong, Cisco. Yeah. All right. Let's see. That was almost Frank and Teddy. I love steak fajitas. Oh wait, I told this thing to recycle the playlist. Loop. All right, let me go to the end and see if it loops. Okay, it looped. Let's do it one more time. Yeah, keep looping. All right, cool. Let me know if it unloops again. Let's see. My wife just messaged me. Oh, he's live. Let's see. Okay. Oh, so we have Guardians of the Storm, which is another William Rain video. All right, so I keep getting so sidetracked. So sorry. We have Shrink Wrap. I'm going to record that tonight. That's a Saturday story. I have not listened to it yet, but I think I remember it got a good amount of good upvotes. Might read Guardians of the Storm. I messaged Dexter. I asked him to play the captain in this. Hopefully he says yes. That'd be cool. And then this will be like a member Patreon video or something. We might record that. Same thing with this, I think. My plan is to get Shrink Wrap, Guardians, and work on Tribal Officer. Let me go ahead and pull up my Word document for Guardians. Give me one sec. I would like to get Charon's Tales in Guardians also, but I want this video. I want Guardians out in like a couple days, so that might not be enough time to ask him, but we'll see. All right. Keeper, what's up, Keeper? Good to see you in here. Okie dokie. What should we do first? That is a good question. Maybe I'll... My voice sounds off today, too. It was fine like an hour ago. Let me get a new Audacity file pulled up. I don't know, it just feels a little weird. I feel like I don't have enough... I feel like I don't have as much bass in there like I normally do. Well, let's just start with Shrink Wrap. We've been chilling for a good amount of time now. Oh, my wife also sent me a video of our baby girl. They were doing tummy time, and she rolled over for the first time, and she's 7 weeks old. So that was a super cool video. Gave me a big old smile. And they got baby pictures done today, which was super. I wasn't there, but my wife and her mom went and got baby pictures done, and she's been sending me little photos of that all day, so that's been nice. Let me mute the mic for a second to clear my throat. Alrighty, let's see. I don't know, the voice just still feels off. One of my earliest memories are from a funeral. At the time, I didn't understand that it was a funeral. It's a confusing thought. I wasn't scared or sad. It was just a lot of people that I knew gathered in one room. A lot of them were upset, that much I remember. But there was something else. There was a man in the room resting on a big table. There was an older woman in a robe talking to us in a soft tone. At some point, my mother picked me up and we walked to the man on the table. He was being wrapped in plastic. I cried and my mother rocked me in her arms. I didn't understand that the man was dead. But how could I? I'd never seen anything die. A couple of the older kids were given blow dryers to help shrink the plastic. My mother put me down while she helped turn the body to get the wrapping right. I retreated to the end of the table where I played with my favorite Ninja Turtle toy. When no one was looking, I pricked a hole in the plastic, just between the man's toes. It was an accident. I was playing and the toy had a sharp edge. I was a bit embarrassed, so I didn't say anything. We all sat there for hours, singing songs and talking in hushed voices. The old woman in the robe was so kind and careful. I remember her stroking my hair and kissing me on the cheek. All the children of the town were there, both the infants and the teenagers. Give me a sec. Sometimes I have to like pause the video while a minute and a half and your spit builds up. I hate swallowing my spit when the mic's rolling because you'll see like little like things here and I hate that noise. So then I got to stop the video or mute it real quick. Sometimes you can go for a while, but that's just a little funny, gross little thing to tell you all about recording. Because when you have a microphone, because my microphone sensitivity is on 78. I'd love to have it at 100, but there's too much background noise. I see a little bit of the hum. There's too much background noise to keep my mic at 100%, so I keep it around 70 to 80. And when it's that low, this thing needs to be like, I don't know, 3 to 4 inches from your mouth. Let's see. Let me switch to the chat real quick. I'm going to be listening too, but I got to clock back in. Might be able to sneak peek at the chat here and there. Thank you, Amanda. Good to see you in here. Hope to see you. Congratulations. That's awesome, Dad. Thank you. You're welcome. Liz is me. Liz was you. Awesome. Thank you, Elquin. Okay, I didn't want to say your last name on the thing. My sister's name is Elizabeth, and my grandma, and my cousin. Let's see. Enjoy these little milestones. They grow up so fast. Mine's 26 and 22. Doesn't seem like that, but 2 minutes ago, they were babies. Now my baby has her own babies. That's awesome. Alley Oops. Good to see you in here, Alley Oops. All right, let's go back into it. Both the infants and the teenagers. They didn't want us to sleep, but we couldn't help it. They gave us candy to keep us motivated, but I still nodded off. I was barely awake. The thing stopped. Man. See, this is going to be the annoying part is, I don't know why the playlist loop. How do I get it to loop infinitely? It should, when I do that. It's just going to be, it'll be annoying because I need to see and make sure all of the Mayu songs are free to use, but there are other companies that are bullshit ass companies that will falsely claim Mayu's music, and then you'll get copyright struck on YouTube. Which I don't care if a live gets copyright struck because I don't turn the ads on these anyways. The older ones have ads, but the past few new ones don't. So I don't care if these get copyright struck, but I don't like seeing that, red $ red X on the YouTube channel anyways. So you gotta be careful on what plays next. I don't know. It should be infinitely looping. I don't know why it's. Maybe you don't. See, that's when you loop once, then that should be infinite. I don't know why. Yeah, like there's one song, "The Mystery" by Mayu. It gets copyright claimed every single time. There are just shitty ass people out there that try to profit off of other people's works. All right, let's get back. Well, not at all. Oh, gotta put that through the headset. Motivated, but I still nodded. Where's that at? Less candy to keep us motivated, but I still nodded off. I was barely awake when I heard the noise. I remember the plastic turning this thick, ink-like black. Then something slipped out, right there in that hole I poked between his toes. Something moved. I remember drawing in a cold breath that made me choke. It was so cold that I could feel something crystallizing down my throat. My voice burned and my heart kept beating louder and louder. I didn't understand what was happening. The last thing I remember from that day was the kind old woman screaming at 2 men to hold me down as she hurried to me with a bone saw and an apologetic expression. I'm getting some background. Okay, it's not too bad, actually. All right. Also, too, some changes to the YouTube channel. I would love for July, I would love to get almost a video out every day. But to do that, the channel has to, I need an increase in viewership, and that will let me stay home from work. And if I get a video out every day, that'd be awesome. I would love to start doing that from now on. One of the hard problems with that is just trying to find that many stories to source. It's hard to find that many stories to read. Me with a bone saw and an apologetic expression. Next thing I remember, I was in the hospital. It wasn't that bad. Getting fed through a tube in your arm is weird, but I got so many toys and comics from that day that it felt like Christmas all over. I had aches and pains, but they passed. Once I was okay, my parents sent me to live with my aunt in a neighboring town. I didn't like it, but they painted it as this great opportunity and a chance to meet new friends. They said it was temporary, and I believed them. I hadn't met enough liars to know the signs. That temporary solution lasted all through my childhood. My aunt is a wonderful woman, and how she managed to care for not only me but my 2 cousins is beyond me. My parents would send her money, but they would never come to visit. We never talked about them. And when they passed in the winter of 2016, I wasn't told until long after their funeral. I can't say I miss them. I wish I could, but I can't. After high school, I decided to pursue a degree in anthropology. I didn't want to attribute all my interest to that first memory. Oh, wait. Oh, that was my wrist popped. I decided to pursue a degree in anthropology. I don't want to attribute all my interest to that first memory, but I can't say it didn't have an impact on me. I had no idea why our burial ritual had become so because it's not in there. Yeah, Amanda, I just want, so basically, to fill y'all in on some things, I don't know what's going on, but the algorithm is being weird. I mean, I'm getting like 2,000 views of, changed again. Maybe I just gotta say it's not gonna work. Loop. All right, let me go to the end. That should mean it only loops once. And then if I play it again, see, of course, when I just go to the end every time, it works. Yeah, I don't know what it is. The YouTube channel is getting like 2,000 views a video right now. Even when I do the long videos that take like 4, 5, 6 hours to make, they're getting like 3,000. I don't know, like 3,500, and those videos usually get like 5 to 6. So views on the channel have gone down a lot, and I want to keep growing the channel. So I think the only way to do that is to just pump more videos out, and hopefully, one, you get more views because there's more content, and then obviously too, the more videos you have, the more thumbnails you have, the more chances YouTube has to show your video to somebody. But I can't say it didn't have an impact on me. I don't know where the hell was that? An impact on me. There it is. Okay. But I can't say it didn't have an impact on me. Dexter. Yep, 42. Yeah, I went a little bit early today. If we hit the super chat goal, /dono goal, which is $25 combined between super chats and memberships. Thank you, Cisco. The keeper got it. Okay. Do y'all know? I don't know if YouTube has this yet. Can you specifically give a membership to a specific person? Because I'm sure they probably changed it. But I know a long time ago they used to, when someone gifted a membership, it would go to someone who basically has like way more watch time than someone else on the channel. So if there's like 10 people in the thing, it kind of gives it to the most person who watches that channel the most. I don't know if it's still that way or if you can specifically give it to someone, but that's how it used to work, at least. it would yeah, it would prioritize who watches the channel the most. That's how, a long time ago, how it went. Yeah, Dex, if we hit the goal, then we're actually going to listen to, I'm going to play live the ray gun story that you were in. That video comes out tomorrow, but if we hit the goal, then I'll play it tonight, probably at the end or maybe in the middle if I need a little break. But I can't say it didn't have an impact. Nikki London, where have you been? You gotta stop going MIA on me, because I won't see you for like 6 or 7 months, and then I'll see you for like 4 months on every video, and then I won't see like this time. I haven't seen you in so long. Nikki London UK. For those of y'all that don't know, she has been on the channel subbed since like 1,000, maybe even before that. But I can't say it didn't have an impact on me. I had no idea why our burial ritual had been so strange compared to anything I've read. We bury our dead in coffins, in the ground, or cremate them. We don't shrink wrap them in front of an audience. For the longest time, I thought it was something I made up. A bad dream brought on by a nasty fever. But the more I thought about it, the more I had to know for sure. While studying for my master's degree, I decided I was going to write a paper about this custom. That is, if it was real to begin with. I had a couple other topics lined up just in case. I asked my aunt about it, and she wasn't too happy talking about the topic, as it brought up bad memories of my parents. Hey, Dex, there you go, baby. Thank you. $2 from Dex. Appreciate it, man. Dex, I'm gonna blast you here. Now you gotta do it. I already told everybody a little while ago that I have you in mind for Captain Slade. So, now come on, chat, get him. As it brought up bad memories of my parents. She asked me to consider other ideas. However, I took something of interest. I took note. She asked me to consider other ideas. However, I took note of something interesting, damn. She asked me to consider other ideas. However, I took note of something interesting. She never disputed the fact that the shrink... However, I took note of something interesting. She never disputed the fact that the shrink wrapping was real. She would mention how that town wasn't a big deal and how it wasn't noteworthy, but she never said I was wrong. That village is in rural South Dakota. If you follow the Runalong River, past the town of Hilltop and the wheat farms, and far enough to the northwest, there is a hillside community with about 550 people. Not a lot of folks choose to settle there, as the place has spotty wireless and the roads have barely been maintained since the 70s. You'd be excused for not knowing it existed. Most people just notice their Wi-Fi going bad as they drive past it. Those who live up there are mostly retirees, but that's a couple of... Those who live up there are mostly retirees, but there's a couple of people... there's a couple... So sorry, my chat's on the second monitor, and then sometimes in the middle of a sentence, I'll go look at it and sneak a peek, and then I'll look back, and then I'm like, well, shit, where was I? And then I'll mess up before I can figure it out. Let me see if I can actually just make this small or something, and I don't know, how about if I can I make the chat? That doesn't work. OBS doesn't have a chat window for me that I know how to use. If I could put the chat window like right here, that would be awesome. Bear with me a sec. I'm trying to see if I can figure something out. I might just have to do what I used to do and just put my phone. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just put my phone in front of my main computer screen. Do a dollop, do a dollop a daisy, do a dollop, do a dollop a daisy. Oh, okay. You know what? This is just gonna be a no-go. Now it's playing some random stuff that I. All right, we tried. We tried. All right, let me click on my own video. There we go. Okie doke. Let me get back. Let me put it over here. Those who live up there are mostly retirees. But there's a couple who make their living doing seasonal jobs for the surrounding farms and ranchers. There's a grocery shop, a couple of truck drivers, and a church. If you follow the main road, you get to a bus stop. There's a preschool, but not a lot of children. Despite my aunt's disinterest, I decided to pursue this topic. I called up the village priest. The one I remembered was already... topic. I called up the village priest. The one I remembered was already an old woman, so I figured there'd be someone... shit. The one I remembered was already an old woman, so I figured there'd be someone else attending the flock. Turns out I was right. I got in touch with a man named Pastor Oswald. He picked up the second dial tone. It says before the second dial tone. He picked up before the second dial tone. I was sitting in my car at the time, holding my phone with my cheek as I scribbled in my notebook. Pastor Oswald? I hope I got... that's like a question, my bad. Holding my phone with my cheek as I scribbled in my notebook. Pastor Oswald? I asked. I hope I got the right number. Sorry, I don't get a lot of calls. Who am I speaking to? I introduced myself as a master's student in anthropology and explained my interest in their burial rites. I didn't bring up the details of my past, thinking this person probably didn't know about me either way. I explained how, when I was there, I explained how I was there to interview and observe, for academic purposes. Pastor Oswald waved it off. No problem at all. We have a ceremony scheduled 2 days from now that you're welcome to attend. Respectfully, of course. How could I say no? I drove out there on the day of the ceremony. I was told it would be held later in the evening, so I had plenty of time to make myself reacquainted with the town. I took a detour off the highway and noticed my internet connection going spotty, so I knew it wasn't far. There was something familiar about the smell. It's strange how well something that small sticks with us. Just from taking a deep breath, I could tell I'd been there before. Springtime never really changes. It was just that time of year when it's still uncomfortably cold, but the sun shines so brightly it stings your eyes. Where a warm jacket is too much but leaving at home is too little. That in-between space where nature stays by the door like a cat, meowing at you. Between space where nature stays by the door like a cat, meowing at you to open but not knowing if it wants to leave. I found the bus stop, and subsequently the road leading into town. I don't think I've ever seen a more beaten-up patch of asphalt. There had to be some other way for trucks to get up there that I don't know about. I could hear my insurance premiums cry as the shock absorbers... way for trucks to get up there that I don't know about. I could hear my insurance premiums cry as the shock absorbers struggled to keep pace. See, just checking, looking at something. Alrighty. As the shock absorbers struggled to keep pace. The town church was a classic white with a small turn-of-the-century Midwestern bell tower. I couldn't see the bell, though. There were a couple of cars parked outside, but no one seemed to be around. I knocked a couple of times on the big double doors, but no one answered. I figured I'd give Pastor Oswald a call, but I couldn't get a signal through. It was the middle of the day, but there were a couple of people milling about. Mostly older folks walking their dogs or buying groceries. Out of all the people that passed by, 3 of them were under the age of 60, and they might have just appeared younger than they really were. The grocery store had a bit of a cafe corner where you could sit down to have a sandwich. It wasn't so much a coffee place as it was a collection of chairs scattered around a handful of wobbly tables, with a couple of handwritten signs showing the price of the drinks. Collection of chairs scattered around a handful of wobbly tables, with a couple of handwritten signs showing the price of drinks. It looked way too cheap, but that's probably because they hadn't adjusted for the past 6 years of inflation. I grabbed a seat by the window, looking out over an abandoned street. A couple of crows had made their way into a trash can and threw garbage out there like no... Grabbed a seat by the window, looking out over an abandoned street. A couple of crows had made their way into a trash can and threw garbage out there like there was no tomorrow. They looked like they knew what they were doing. More young birds than there were people. Young people. My contacts are getting a little blurry. I might have to put my glasses on, y'all. They looked like they knew what they were doing. More young birds than there were young people. As I sat down for lunch, a peculiar man walked in. He was in his early 50s, with a shaved head and a 5 o'clock shade lining his jaw. A bit of a beer belly, but he had these really clear green eyes. He gave me a long look, stopped, and circled back. He pointed a finger at me and cocked his head. "I know you. How do I know you?" "I don't think you know me. Sorry." "Now hold on." I don't know if he's supposed to be like a scary guy or what. That's what popped out. "Sorry." "Now hold on." He sat down across from me, still thinking out loud. Then, pointing again, he started listing names. Come on. Then, pointing again, he started listing names. My mother, my father, my aunt, a couple of my cousins. Then something clicked. He snapped his fingers. "Don't tell me. You're Henry's kid." "Got me there," I admitted. "You see the family resemblance?" "Don't you?" I raised an eyebrow at that. He looked at me like I was an idiot. "Jerry. Uncle Jerry. Dad's brother?" I never heard of an uncle. Who's that supposed to be? He looked at me like I was an idiot. Jerry, Uncle Jerry, Dad's brother. I never heard of an Uncle Jerry. Figures. I think that's the way it's supposed to go. He looked at me like I was an idiot. Jerry, Uncle Jerry. Dad's brother? I never heard of an Uncle Jerry. Figures. He reached out a hand. I was hesitant at first, but he had a genuine smile. That, and he had managed to list a whole bunch of names from my family, some of which I barely remember myself. He was the real deal in one way or another. I shook his hand and He was the real deal in one way or another. I shook his hand as he started firing off a bunch of questions. We had a lot of catching up to do. We spoke for hours. He was pleasant to talk to, and the more I looked, the more of myself I could see in him. Oh, wait a second. They're saying that he's related to her. Or he's related to him. I'm assuming this our pro tag's a guy because I don't even think it established that or not. Okay, let's see. See in him. The more of myself I could see in him. We had the same ears, for example, in the space between our front teeth. I told him about my studies and the peculiar memory of the shrink wrapping. He perked up at that. They still do that. It's the strangest thing. Now I'm curious. You might be right, Dex. No, not that I see. How do I know you? Hold on, don't tell me that. Jerry, Uncle Jerry, Dad's brother? Yeah, I don't think I do not think we have seen anything here. So far, at least. Don't do that. It's the strangest thing. You know what it's about? Yeah, I'm surprised you don't, given the circumstance, you know. What are you talking about? I sipped my coffee as he gave me a curious look. He crossed his arms and leaned back in his seat. They call it Good Friday, Lung. You had it as a kid. Don't you remember? Good Friday, Lung, was a condition brought on by something in the soil. They didn't have an explanation for it, but it was something that occurred about 3 to 5 days But it was something that occurred about 3 to 5 days. Okay, that was just, you're supposed to say after about 3, at about, well, okay, yeah, both of them work, but this one's just a little more clunky. They didn't have an explanation for it, but it was something that occurred about 3 to 5 days of decomposition. A person who died would exude this black smoke that made people sick. Apparently that's something I got when I was younger. That would explain my memory. Burying them just makes it spread through the soil, get sucked up into the groundwater and the crops. Dangerous stuff. What about cremation? Burning spreads them faster. It gets in the air like a cloud. A whole bunch of people died from that at the turn of the century, according to the church records. Good to see you. Good to see you, Figton. New Figton. There you go. Century, according to the church records. What about acid? Liquidation? Might work, but that'd be expensive as hell. You just can't just get industrial grade, You can't just get industrial grade body burning acids at a moment's notice. So yeah, we shrink wrap. Simple. I got to see it for myself. Well, you'll get to. Old Harlan passed a couple of days ago. Sad to see the stuttering old fool go, but that's life. I'd never heard of Good Friday, Lung. It sounded ridiculous. Apparently it was some kind of aerial infection that affected people who'd lived in that town for too long. They'd tried several techniques over the years, but shrink wrapping was the simplest and most cost-effective way to prevent any harm from spreading. It didn't quite explain everything. For example, why did they gather all the children at the ceremony? It seemed ill-advised to bring all the young to witness something so macabre. What Jerry had shared was a start, but it didn't quite paint the full picture. I'd never heard of anything like this, and yet they all accepted it like it was a part of everyday life. My estranged uncle was supportive of my research into the subject, albeit a bit less helpful than he might have wanted to be. For example, he had no idea where the condition originated. Apparently, it was just part of living by the river. Later that evening, people gathered at the church. Jerry was supposed to meet up with me a little later, so this was my chance to talk to Pastor Oswald and get a bit of history. The double doors were wide open, and a group of 24 people had already gathered. And there, on a stone altar at the very front, was an old, dead man, as naked as the day he was born. Pastor Oswald spotted me across the room. Compared to most people living there, he was relatively young, only 40 or so years old. He had these big glasses and an aw-shucks kind of demeanor to him. I could easily see him as someone willing to geek out at some kind of convention. I could easily see him as someone willing to geek out at some kind of convention. He shook my hand and invited me in. "Glad to see a new face," he said. "These are trying times, but it's important to challenge perspectives. I hope I'm not interrupting. Just don't touch anything and you'll be fine." He showed me around the room and introduced me. There were 2 men by the back that were supposed to transport the body after the ceremony, locking it in a crypt. There were a couple of volunteers helping with the plastic wrapping and turning the body. Then there were the children. As part of the ceremony, about a dozen children were there to help out. Most of them were given blow dryers to help the plastic shrink wrap into this vacuum-tight seal. I had a couple of questions about that. Is there a particular reason why you're involving the children? They're most susceptible to the condition. If someone gets sick, we need to know right away. That's why it's best to keep everyone around until we get sick. We need to know right away. That's why it's best to keep everyone around until we know the seal will hold. Involving them in the ceremony keeps them close and occupied. Then why not keep them in the back or the other room? Then we can't immediately see if they get infected. They also get impatient from the waiting. Then why are there no paramedics around? Or doctors, maybe gas masks, or... It ain't that kind of condition. While Pastor Oswald still smiled, I could tell there was something in my line of questioning that poked a nerve. I slowed down, brought out my notebook, and took it one question at a time. Then what kind of condition is it? Pastor Oswald mulled the question over as he double-checked his equipment. There was a veil that was supposed to go over the body once the ceremony was complete. There was a wheeled gurney... There was a wheeled gurney to roll the body out to be sealed in a communal crypt. Those things I expected. What bothered me was the table with instruments. I expected. What bothered me was the table with instruments and songs, flutes and tambourines, child-sized. We've had a lot of people trying to fix it over the years. They can't find the source. They can't even tell if you have it or not. It's not until the moment you lay dead and the decay sets in that the condition reveals itself. And by then you want them contained. Exactly. But as far as prevention goes, or the source of the contamination, your guess is as good as mine. I just know that it's been here a long time and will probably be here long after you and I are gone. Then why not just move? Well, if you have it, you'll just be bringing it somewhere else. A lot of folks don't want to take that chance, so they decided to stick around. But as you might have noticed, there's a lot less people living here than there used to be. So, in a generation or two, who knows? He handed me a small bowl full of wrapped chocolate mints. I took one and smiled as he hurried off to help an older man with a walker. The ceremony started at about 9 p.m. Most people sat down in the pews, but the children were sat up front by the altar. Most people sat down in the pews, but the children were sat up front by the altar. Pastor Oswald spoke in a very calm and reassuring tone. He explained it as a blessing, a challenge of faith to be overcome. In these trying modern times, we often forget about the imperceptible things that shape our lives. Things like the way the wind carries our breath, how the moon shines through our window when the power goes out, how faith lifts us out of bed to carry our burdens. But men like Harland know these things. They know 'em well. It was a beautiful speech. I remembered to take notes, but I was a bit distracted. I didn't even notice Uncle Jerry sneaking in to sit at my side. I was about to say something to him when he raised a finger to his lips, showing me I ought to stay quiet. Pastor Oswald painted this ceremony as a reassurance of faith, that we are willing to do what we must in order to retain the natural order of things, that we must not let Harland be remembered as something harmful to the community. The ceremony was explained as tying Harlan be remembered as something harmful to the community. The ceremony was explained as tying a final ribbon on a life well lived. There were a lot of songs and hymns, some which I'd heard before, some not. Jerry seemed to know all of them. Jerry seemed to know all of them by heart. Some kids helped out by playing simple instruments or tapping their feet. There was an older woman playing the church organ. Pastor Oswald had a surprisingly strong voice. Harlan's widow described her husband's love for the outdoors and how he loved to take moonlit walks by the wheat fields. She urged everyone to take the scenic route home that night, as it was a full moon, to maybe get a sense of what he appreciated so much about the open sky. It was a nice thought, and I could see more than a few tears among the audience. Her jab about his chain smoking got a couple of laughs, too. As the ceremony neared midnight, the children were asked to come up to the plastic-wrapped body with their blow dryers. As the machines began to whir, I could hear the plastic creak as the wrap tightened. It didn't take long. All of a sudden, the men on the altar had gone from a person to a package. Let me say that a little better. I feel like I can... Because that's kind of like a crazy-ass... that's a crazy-ass image right there. Damn. All right. It didn't take long. All of a sudden, the man on the altar had gone from a person to a package. Anonymous and generic. There you go. That was better. Package. Anonymous and generic. As the songs continued, I noticed a shift in the room. The plastic was slowly turning gray, and the two men who were charged with moving the body were on high alert. But not towards the body. They were looking at the congregation. The children in particular. The parents were too. It's like no one was really watching the dead body in the room. Something was changing. Yeah, you probably have, Amanda. This is another Saturday story, and his stories are very frequently covered. Because he puts out a story every single week, so and he lets people narrate their stuff for free, donate if you can. So he is a very commonly read author. Was changing room. Something was changing. As the plastic turned completely black, everyone seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The plastic seal seemed to hold. Pastor Oswald cheered, and the congregation cheered with him, as they celebrated and gave thanks. The body was carefully moved to the wheeled gurney and covered in a thin veil. The two men wheeled the body out, and I got up to follow him. Pastor Oswald stopped me with a hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry, but you can't come with him. It's a safety measure." "Not even from a distance?" He rolled his eyes a little and looked around the room. One of the kids was pulling on it. He rolled his eyes a little and looked around the room. One of the kids was pulling on his sleeve, demanding his attention. All right. From a distance. Just don't touch anything, you understand? "I'll keep my distance." He mouthed a silent thank you as he diverted his attention to a young boy wanting to show off his tambourine skills. Most of the children were being taken home. The ritual was over. I followed the two men outside. There were no graves, only mausoleums. The men stopped as they realized I was following, but I assured them I'd keep my distance. They nodded at that and continued rolling the body down a path. The wheels in the gurney struggled against the gravel. They were in the middle of a casual conversation. I said that weird. The wheels in the gurney struggled against the gravel. They were in the middle of a casual conversation, not really related to anything. Perhaps this was a bit of a routine for them. Given the average age of those who live there, that wouldn't surprise me. They were discussing one of them buying a new car from a less than reputable dealer, and the pros and cons of such an investment. Halfway down the mausoleums, they stopped. Turns out they'd messed up the number and taken a wrong turn. They had to backtrack and go around. It was a bit of a hassle, so before they did, they decided to go on a smoke break. As promised, I kept my distance as I left the body on the table. There was no wind, and the gurney was steady, so there was no harm in it. I joined them in their discussion, trying not to impose. I asked a couple of practical questions about the ceremony and the history of their role. I made a couple of notes about how they were called ferrymen before they returned to their topic of second grade secondhand. Practical questions about the ceremony and the history of their role. Practical questions about the ceremony and the history of their role. I made a couple of comments about how they were called ferrymen before they returned to their topic of second-hand cars. As they did, my ears perked up. I was hearing something, but I couldn't put my finger on what. I looked around for Jerry, but he was still inside with the others. It was something else. Not a breeze rustling the leaves. Not a single drop of rain. No smell coming from the dry old blue sunflowers resting by the mausoleum door. No, it was something much more mundane. Cosney. Yeah, it's, I get that comment about, maybe once or twice a month. Texter is hilarious. Texter's so funny. Cosney, how do we know you aren't AI? Yeah, man, it's just, I've got a lower pitched voice, and I'll speak. The thing is if people listen to the part of the story where there's dialogue and they hear me do voices, then it's obvious I'm not. But, I can't even get mad at anybody that wants to call me AI anymore because AI is just so fucking good. Let me take a sip. AI is so good now that it's hard to tell. It is hard to tell. Dude, that's a compliment. Your voice is that smooth. Thank you. And that's the thing, man. I mean, there are YouTube videos that I come across, and I'm like, damn, that's a good voice. And I'm like, it's an AI voice. Fuck. So it gets pretty crazy now. All right, let's see. Much more mundane. Oh yeah, constantly. That's completely normal. Most people use these to fall asleep anyways. Oh, wait a second. Much more mundane. A crow? The ferryman hadn't noticed it. It had landed on the edge of the gurney, thinking the plastic wrap held some kind of trash-like delicacy. Plastic wrap held some kind of trash-like delicacy. These birds were hard-coded to tear through wrapping. Plastic wrap held some kind of trash-like delicacy. These birds were hard-coded to tear through wrapping to find the goodies inside, and it didn't take long to act on those impulses. By the time the ferryman noticed, it was too late. The crow poked its beak straight through the plastic as a black gas seeped out. It's hard to explain exactly what it looked like. It was a gas, but it moved like a liquid. But that's just the thing. It moved. Not just poured out, it moved with purpose. It swayed from side to side before dissolving into the ground. The ferryman freaked out as a confused crow took flight. God, I don't say GD, so I gotta change it a bit. $4.99 for Mandizzle Faux Shizzle Amanda. Don't want to do the dishes. Thank you so much, and I know the feeling. And freaked out as a confused crow took flight. God damn it! Fucking damn it! He got out! One of them sprinted for the church. The other hurried to the gurney and brought out 3 sets of straps from underneath. He positioned them over the legs, chest, and head of the body in a trained routine. Seconds later, the body moved. I gotta say it like the body moved. The legs, chest, and head of the body in a trained routine. Seconds later, the body moved. It wasn't a conscious movement as much as a spasm. By the way, I don't know exactly how much, but we are getting close to the $25 dono to get the $25 dono goal to get us to listen to these. I can't fucking talk. I Built a Portal Gun by William Rain. There we go. We are probably like, I don't know, like $7 or $8 away from that. So once we secure that, then I will be able to play the I Built a Portal Gun featuring Dexter playing a mad genius who built a gun that shoots portals to another dimension. 35 minutes long. I can't wait to share that with y'all. Just a spasm. It wasn't a conscious movement as much as a spasm. Some dying mechanism triggering at full power, causing the whole body to flex. If he hadn't tightened the straps, more of the plastic would have ripped. There was still some black inside. Using duct tape, he secured the hole the crow had poked. "Get inside! Get inside now!" he screamed. How does that sound? "Get inside! Get inside now!" That's not too bad. "Get inside now!" he screamed. It was full panic inside the church. The children who hadn't left yet were being held to the floor by their parents. The other ferryman was sprinting to his car to get the others. Pastor Oswald held a walkie-talkie in his left hand and a bone saw in his right. I walked up to him, watching his demeanor change from calm and collected to borderline frantic. "What's the bone saw for?" He looked up at me but didn't answer. He kept his eyes trained on the children. "What is the bone—" it's peaking. Answer. He kept his eyes trained on the children. "What is the bone saw for?" I repeated. "What is the bone saw for?" I repeated. He swallowed hard, regaining his composure. "Safety measures." Pastor Oswald got regular updates through his walkie-talkie. They were going house by house, checking all the children in town. What exactly they were checking for wasn't apparent. They were doing a sort of head count, listing off the family names of those to be cleared, the kids who were held down being let up as suspicions faded. Things seemed to be okay, for now. "Check the wheat fields. Harland liked the wheat fields," Pastor Oswald demanded. Keeper coming in clutch. Oh, yes. All right, sweet. I was hoping, because I was hoping we'd hit the goal, because I wanted to play this story for y'all so bad. I love it. And any story with Dexter in it. Dexter, I just got to tell you, man, I got a little bit of a man crush on you, all right? If you're still in the chat, I don't know if you're still here. I got a little bit of a man crush on you. I love the voice. You're hilarious. Your voice acting skills are awesome. Anytime you collab with me, it's super cool. Thank you, Keeper. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everybody. That is awesome. That is super awesome. Thank you. Fields, Pastor Oswald demanded. I noted it in my book and looked for Uncle Jerry. He was off in the corner, staying well out of everyone's way. I hurried up to him. I barely got the question out of my mouth before he answered it. "It's not just a lung disease," he whispered. "It's unnatural, defiant. I don't understand." "Some things don't work as they're supposed to." That didn't sound too good. "I don't understand." "Some things don't work as they're supposed to. When explanation fails to account for impossible things, sometimes we just have to make do with what works." "Then explain it. Explain what you think happens." He looked at me, then back at the congregation. The tension was starting to subside. "Old Harlan didn't want to go yet, so he clawed his way back for one more go. He just needs to find someone willing to carry on for him." Like a possession?" Jerry looked around the room and gave me the tiniest nod. It did sound a little bit. It is a little bit of a Vidith voice there. Okay, this is probably a long shot because there's only 20 of us listening right now. But does anyone remember? I remember. Gosh, this was 11 years ago when someone showed me the No Sleep podcast on Spotify. back when they had like season 1, season 2, season 3, and a lot of it was hosted by, I forget his name, but he has like the perfect scary guy voice. And this is like 11 years ago. And I listened to a story on there about how basically the whole premise is, I think this guy found out, this protagonist found out that he's like, I don't know, he's at this mortuary or he's in a hospital, and it's revealed to him that people, when they die, they still have, you have brain activity for like 5 to 10 minutes after, like 7 minutes afterwards, I think, in real life. There's just synapses firing off. And it was a, no, it was on the No Sleep podcast. So it's like the main guy who like founded it. He even has like a kind of a creepy, like his real name. And it's like Dave Warby, like something like that. And he's working at a mortuary or something, and he finds out that you still have brain activity, which means like when you die, you still feel everything for like 7 minutes after. And I think the protagonist was like, he ended up saying like, if I die, please put a bullet through my brain. This is not the subway thing. And because he's like, he's dead. I think he dies in there somewhere. And then he finds out that his body's going to get cremated. Oh, gosh. This is an 11-year-old story that I heard one time, and I just can't find it because I have only like 2 details. But what is that guy's name, by the way? Let me just, founders of No Sleep podcast. Now I just want to know. Oh, David Cummings. Yeah, that's his name. David Cummings. That I was listening to I found No Sleep like, maybe 11 years ago. Listened to No Sleep podcast for a while on Spotify, and then I kind of just fell out of it and didn't catch back up to it until maybe 6 years ago. All right, we will listen to Portal Gun after this. I think we're like 15-ish minutes left. All right, where are we? Around the room and gave me there we go. Jerry looked around the room and gave me the tiniest nod. As the congregation's tolerance to outsiders waned, Pastor Oswald hurriedly asked me to leave. He wasn't harsh about it, but rather matter-of-factly. This was a time of crisis in his community, and he couldn't take the time to be a good host. He insisted I come back in a couple of days when things calmed down, and he'd be happy to explain exactly what happened. But for now, I had to leave. I got in my car, waved goodbye to Uncle Jerry, and slowly made my way out of town. Not exactly the way I'd expected the day to go, but I wasn't about to intrude. Not on a night like this. I carefully bumped my way down the shitty road leading out of town and took a left. My car kept complaining about the Wi-Fi connection. I just gotta say, I don't know why Saturday's talking about Wi-Fi connection in a car. You don't get Wi-Fi through a town like that. Unless his car is his own Wi-Fi. Let's see. Dexter. My car kept complaining about the Wi-Fi connection. Oh shit, where is that at? What, there it is. My car kept complaining about the Wi-Fi connection. I followed the road curling back and forth. There were no street lights, but the moon was as large as ever. That, and I wasn't really expecting to see a lot of people on these roads. That is, until I noticed something up ahead. There was a car in the middle of the road. The motor was still running. I could see the exhaust. The driver's side door was wide open and covered in blood. I stayed in my car, trying to get a signal on my phone. It didn't work. I shuffled my way out the door. I had to check if someone was injured. I mean, it sure looked like someone was, but there was no damage to the car. They hadn't hit anything. There was just a lot of open doors and blood, especially in the driver's seat. I called out to see if there was anyone there, but no one responded. The keys were still in the ignition. There was a comic book in the back seat. It was torn in half. I turned back towards my car and stopped. There was someone standing next to it, looking in through the window. The silhouette was barely covered by the moonlight, showing a figure with one arm much bigger than the other. A tilted torso shaped like a lowercase b. I could see the gleam of white in their eyes, but there was too much of it. Too many. It turned to me, still holding something in its left hand. It left a bloody handprint on my car. It tried to speak, but all that came out was a painful, drawn-out wailing. It was fast, much faster than me for sure. The moment it started running, I was only about 6 steps ahead. I threw myself into the parked car and slammed the driver's side door shut. Started running, I was only about 6 steps ahead. Fuck, where is it? Where are we? Started running, I was only about 6 steps ahead. I threw myself into the parked car and slammed the driver's door shut. I fucked it up again, sorry. Started running, I was only about 6 steps ahead. I threw myself into the parked car and slammed the driver's side door shut. I crawled over to the passenger side as the door was torn straight off and thrown down the road. I crawled out the other side and shut the passenger door behind me, trapping whatever was coming for me in the car. At least for a couple of seconds. It didn't take long for it to break through. I couldn't just run down the road in a straight line. It would catch me. I had to try and lose it. There was a wheat field on the left side of the road, and I figured I could lose it in there. I ran straight into it, keeping my head down and slowing only. So remember, hardly like the wheat fields, and where is this motherfucker running to? The wheat field. On the left side of the road, and I figured I could lose it. Where the hell I figured I could lose it in there. I ran straight into it, keeping my head down and slowing only to hide my sound. I could hear something behind me, something frustrated with a deep, wheezing breath, like a man slowly choking to death. I managed to find a spot in the middle of the field where I could duck down. It was right there by the edge, but in the shade of a tree. There was no way that thing would accidentally find me there. I listened to it shuffling about. It was nowhere near me, but I could tell there was something wrong with it. The proportions were wrong, the sounds were wrong. It tried to speak, but it turned into either screams or a strangely coherent stutter. It sounded like words, but I couldn't make them out. Then I looked up. A family of crows tilted their heads down at me. One of them hopped along a branch, inspected me and cawed. The others followed suit. I don't think they meant anything bad, but they drew attention to me. Soon, I was going to say so. I thought I said so, and then I said soon. Anything bad, but they drew attention to me. Soon, that thing was coming my way. I tried to get away, but even at a sprint, I was nowhere near as fast. I remember something knocking me to the ground and putting a foot on my back. At least I think it was a foot. It was big enough to be a car tire. Something wrapped around my ankle and twisted, pulled, and twisted again. I'm not going to try and explain the pain of several compound fractures to someone who has never broken a bone, but it's a terrifying violation. Your body is being willfully and forcefully disfigured in a way it never has. That thing was tearing off my leg at the knee. And it did. Thankfully, I'm in the camp of someone who has never broken a bone and never even been stung by anything. So that's nice. But I have been pepper sprayed and I have been tased, so those are horrible. The taser is the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. That was awful. Awful. Being tased, oh my, it only lasts for 5 seconds, but that is the longest 5 fucking seconds you'll ever feel. Knee. And it did. I've experienced pain and fear before, but the mortality of imminent death is something that's hard to explain. It's a category of its own. There's a searing pain in your nerves, an intense, scalding heat. And as that heat grows ever worse, the rest of your body grows cold. You start to focus on such pinprick minute details. The exact shape of a leaf on the ground, the texture of a grain of sand. Your mouth turns dry as you realize you can't force your eyes into focus. I was lying there on my stomach, my head to the side, bleeding out. The big thing lumbered away as someone joined me at my side. A man sat down in the grass, leaning against a tree. The crows didn't seem to react to him like they did with me. It was Uncle Jerry. Oh, what did I miss? I had a phone call. The person was witnessing the shrink wrap thing, and then a hole got poked into it. A crow poked a hole into it, and the pastor was like, "Oh no, the guy actually poked a hole himself." And then this black stuff came out, and then basically, this whole black lung thing is like a lie. It seems like, and people are just being possessed. So they're like, "Don't go to the wheat fields because that's where Harlan liked to go." And yeah, so it's not looking good. It was Uncle Jerry did with me. It was Uncle Jerry. They don't mean to do it. They're not even scared. It's just like clawing your way to the surface for air. It's what comes naturally. I couldn't answer. I was trying to conserve my breath. This happened to you too. Back when I went. My eyes rolled, looking for him. I saw his shape, but it was diffuse, transparent. They got most of me before. It was diffuse, transparent. They got most of me out before I caught hold. Cut the extra arms off and all, but part of me is still in there. Just a bit distant. I'm actually confused on what exactly tore his leg off too. I think he was getting chased by something, but it didn't really exactly describe what he was being chased from. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you ladies got away from those fucking pieces of shit. By the way, y'all, because I cannot imagine living in some kind of scenario like that. Just a bit distant. I think it was an entity, Dex. I think it was some kind of entity, because it said, but it didn't exactly describe, but we'll see. Just a bit distant. I could hear something shuffling around in the field. Whatever did this to me was still out there. I'm not here to gloat. I've had time to calm down, to come to terms with things. Your life is yours, I accept that. Honestly, I'm just glad we had a chance to talk. He leaned in close, stroking my hair. I remember back when I was small, crying in my mother's arms. He was the man on the table all those years ago. If you let me in, I'll make this work. Just this once. What do you say? I couldn't say anything, but I didn't have to. He knew my answer. I would do anything for a couple of more breaths. I felt my pulse slow. I could focus, not just on a single straw of grass, but the whole field. I could wet my tongue and wipe the sweat from my brow. I scooched a little, expecting a fountain of pain from my missing leg. But nothing came of it. Looking down, I was fine. I had a new leg. The skin and hair of it looked a little darker, but it was a leg. It just wasn't mine. It took some time to get used to. By the time I got off the ground, the thing was still running through the fields, tearing up swaths of wheat and wailing at the top of its lungs. It would stop at times to cough and wheeze, looking up at the moon. It seemed fascinated by it, like it really enjoyed the outdoors while simultaneously letting out a terrified scream. 2 wills, 1 body. I made my way back to the main road. There were more cars there. The ferrymen, along with a couple of volunteers. They were armed. The headlights from their cars cast these long shadows stretching down the road, highlighting the blood, some of which was mine, dripping from the torn edge of my pant legs. "It's in the fields. It's big," I said, pointing. "Just the one?" Let's see. Let's try. "It's big," I said, pointing. "Just the one?" "Just one." They fanned out and readied their weapons. The last thing I heard before they entered the wheat field was a silent, "Sorry, Harland." And seconds later, they were shooting. Ah, damn, Harland. Harland was I figured it was something like that, Harland being the entity, but... So what I thought, and maybe they'll explain more, and I'll just be wrong in 2 minutes, but I thought that they seal it, they shrink wrap people because people's... if you get infected by this, then you have the ability for your soul to leave your body and then possess someone else. Dexter. No, but he deserves it from what I hear. He deserved to have his fucking leg ripped off. And seconds later, they were shooting. I sat down in my car, adjusting the seat to the new length of my leg. I heard the shooting. Then the shooting stopped. They burned something in the field and dragged the abandoned car off the road. A couple of days later, I talked to my aunt. "Oh yeah, we're almost done. Sweet." And we will listen to the portal gun next. Let me save this just in case Audacity crashes. Shrink wrap. Yep, and then portal gun. We'll listen to that in like 2 or 3 minutes. I talked to my aunt. Where are we? I talked to my aunt. A couple of days later, I talked to my aunt. She confirmed that I'd had an Uncle Jerry and that I went to his funeral as a kid. That was the time I caught Good Friday lung. Apparently, I was one of the first kids to survive it. She didn't want to get into specifics, but it had been violent. You had to do something terrible to stop it from expanding in a host. Researching it further, the best explanation of the condition is that a newly dead body sort of finds its way into a younger one, like a person desperate for air. Except 2 people can't inhabit the same space. It collides, creating something twisted and in between. It can be stopped if noticed immediately, but even then, chances are slim. I wrote a paper about it, but it was rejected. I had to go to one of my backup subjects. This was a couple of years ago, and I've tried to gain some legitimacy. I've had my leg tested, but they haven't found a reason why it looks so different, or is of a different length. Yes, at a glance, it looks like something just slap-grafted onto my knee, but that explanation has been denied several times. There's no scar tissue, no mending marks on the bone. Nothing. It's like it was supposed to be there. And, of course, I wonder if this is going to happen to me someday. I was born there, but I haven't lived there. How can you know whether you're part of this chain or not? You won't know for sure until you're gone, and by then, you're not experiencing anything. Or maybe, in the case of Harlan, you are. Do I want to? What's the alternative? I have plenty of years left to consider this, and I don't think I'll ever have a clear answer. Just to be sure, I think I'll have a final request upon my passing. Make sure my body is properly shrink-wrapped. All right, I that one, there's a couple of questions left in that one, but I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Let me catch up on some of the chats here. Oh my gosh, Amanda, no fucking way. not even a whole month after leaving him, he had his leg amputated because he stopped cleaning and caring for his diabetic ulcer. No fucking way. Oh my gosh, that is in your situation because he's horrible. That's hilarious. So that's good. The fact that this whole thing and then Dexter saying that and then it actually being true, that is crazy. Oh, so he did lose his leg. Fucking good. Oh my gosh, that is wild. Naomi, I think something went into the child that was in the back seat of the car he found, and the blood was from their parents in the driver's seat. Maybe something like that. Yeah. I do wonder where the leg came from. I wonder where they got the leg from. That is I'm, so, I'm still cracking up from that. uh, this is actually my first time to a live recording. Seeing this makes me more thankful for all the stories because doing this seems like more work than I thought. It can be. It can be. Let's see. Just like Jerry, yeah, it depends on how much production value is in the story. The 1 hour of audio, exactly, it's a broad range. Dex is right. It can take, 1 hour story can be 2 to 12 hours, especially if Dex has a really good story coming out soon about Bigfoot. I hope I can. I'm only going to say that, Dex. It is. He let me listen to it last night. It is fucking awesome. Y'all have got to subscribe to Dexter and check out his videos, especially this Bigfoot story coming out. He sent it to me last night, and I was enthralled the whole time. And Dex does an awesome job with the sound design. I mean, something like that. Like his story was like say it's like a 25-minute story, but if you do sound design, if you do leaves crunching, growls, voice modification, a 25-minute story can be like 6 hours. It can be like 8 hours, honestly. Or like this, a 40-minute story. When I'm on my roll, say I record a story that's an hour long. If I'm like in a really good groove and I don't make a lot of mistakes, like I normally don't make a lot of mistakes. I make more on these lives because I'm slightly nervous, and then it's just a little. I'm looking at chat, and then I'll fuck a word up because I look back and I need to just ignore chat for like a while and then look at it and catch up. But for me, an hour-long story is like an hour and 20 minutes of recording, and then it's like half an hour of mastering, maybe an hour of mastering and editing, and then what is it? What is it? A thumbnail can take 10 minutes, or it can take like 2 or 3 hours. Especially if it's a story that I want a thumbnail to be perfect. A thumbnail can take a long time. Then I've got to export this audio. I got to put the soundtrack in, export the audio, then put it into a video exporter, export that, and then sometimes that takes a long time. And then sometimes you put it to YouTube, and then it goes copyright violation. Someone's claiming this song, and then you got to fucking do the whole thing over again and re-export it all over, and it's ridiculous. Let's see. Get to see some of the inner workings of being a narrator. Yep. The Keeper, that Bigfoot story is amazing. It is, man. That story was awesome. Man, Dissel. Most people don't survive. Unfortunately, he did. What a mother. It's just hate and spite keeping that man alive. Wow. I thought it was you, Dex. Yeah, that the voice effects you put on that was really good. My opinion, he got the leg from his uncle. His uncle was one of those things that tore his leg off, so his uncle took over him. That is why he was wondering if he'll experience it when he passes. I think you're on the right track there too, Gen X teacher. I think it's something. Well, and also too, our main character has been through this cycle before. I think. because it goes through cycles. And if you get hit by the cycle once, it will hit you again. So maybe the uncle was trying to possess this person the whole time, and maybe the MC has the leg of the uncle, or something like that, or when the uncle was alive, something like that. It does, Dex. Just sometimes the Mayu music. There are like fake companies out there that will falsely claim Mayu music as theirs because so many people use it, and then they'll try to copyright claim people and take profit share and revenue of videos. And it's something that it's just hard for Mayu to keep up with. You need massive legal teams for the. These places are based out of like Singapore and Taiwan, and they just try to falsely claim stuff. And then when a song gets claimed, it can get claimed for like 10 seconds of audio, and then I have to go back to the original file, take that song out, replace it, put it in the video editor, and then re-export the video. If it's a long story, just the exporting can take like half an hour. Then you gotta upload it to YouTube again, and then the an hour long stuff, the YouTube checks take like an hour to run. Super annoying. The Mayu stuff gets claimed a lot. It comes in waves too. Like my favorite Mayu song, Silent Turmoil. Sometimes that'll get claimed for like a month straight, and then I have to stop using it. And then I'll put it in a video 2 months later, and then it doesn't get claimed again. And then like The Mystery gets claimed a lot. The song Suspicious gets claimed a lot. It makes things it's a super drag. I need to start using Epidemic Sound and try to get some of their background stuff in, because I do want to change the background music up. Think the leg came from his uncle. I think so too. El DeGusto, good to see you in here. We can start from the beginning now. All right, so we hit the dono goal. We will go ahead and listen to I Built a Portal Gun. Let me bring it up. Have you got any comedy stories coming up? Not for a while that I'm aware of. Not that I can think of. The last comedy pasta I kind of did was that Jade Green story with the haunted department store. I would love to do another haunted department store. I love those ones, like like the whole Barnaby's kind of genre. Let's see. I like to look at the waveform. Oh, I gotta cut that out. Let's see. I'm waiting to see if there's any chats before I play this, because I wanna play this continuously. All right, sweet. Looks like we are in the clear. And look at that, my wife just got home, so I'm gonna take. How long is this story? 34 minutes. I'm gonna go downstairs and chill with my wife and baby for a bit. But I am going to be playing this on my phone so I can still read chat, and I'll type in chat for people that are still talking. Speaking of stories, I'm definitely interested in Dex Bigfoot story, because I was just thinking about a Bigfoot again. Yes, it is a super good one. Hopefully that comes out soon. Dex, get on it, brother. They're waiting now. I spoke about it. They're waiting. Ooh, this Honda department stores are the best. I guess you just meant haunted, but now that gives me a story idea for a haunted Honda department store. That would be hilarious. All right, let's see. I just listened to that the other day again. I remember I found Barnaby's through Lighthouse, and then I was like, this is a good story, and then I recorded it. So I got it somewhere on the channel too. I would love to redo that, but it's a 4-hour story. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The whole thing was Ray's idea. Yeah, I had a hand in it, but I swear I had no idea what his plans were. Hell, I'm not even sure if he knew, to be honest. It was probably a year ago, give or take a month or two. I had a hard time making out his words at first because he was just so excited to the point of barely being able to form a legible sentence. The main thing I got from the phone call was to get to his house as soon as possible. He's usually a pretty composed guy, but something had him riled up, something serious. We had been friends since we were kids, ever since I helped him with a burgeoning bully problem in the 6th grade. Ray was really shy and quite small for his age, so the bigger kids would lay into him pretty good. I didn't know anything about him at the time, but he always sat alone at lunch. When Ronnie Blige and his goons started harassing him one day, I couldn't let that shit slide. I wasn't especially strong or outgoing myself, but I never could stomach the bigger kids hassling the smaller ones. As soon as they swatted his lunch off the table and pushed him to the ground from his chair, I ran over before taking the time to consider my actions. After all, I did get a couple of good swings on him, too. When I got back to school the following week, Ray couldn't thank me enough for stepping in when I did. We became pretty tight from then on. Jess was Ray's sister, and I developed a crush on her soon after my friend introduced us. Out of respect for my friend, I never acted on my feelings, but the friend zone knocked me out of the running anyway. The three of us spent a lot of time together over the high school years, and we managed to hold on to that friendship after they left for college. I never went to university myself. I was never the best student, due in part to my fairly erratic life at home. I won't get into specifics, but my parents' relationship was rocky at best. Of course, I wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed either. When we learned the national anthem back in kindergarten, I wondered what a Donserly light was. Of course, I didn't ask anyone, no. I just assumed it meant really bright and started using that shit in sentences. Wow, the sun sure is Donserly today. Can I close the curtains? It's way too Donserly outside. Don't call me stupid, I'm Donserlier than you. Yep, I was about as Donserly as a cave in the middle of a moonless night. Though I wasn't particularly smart, I was always mechanically inclined, so I ended up working at a garage after school. Working on vehicles paid well enough for me to get my own place far away from my folks and carve out a decent life for myself. Ray dropped out of college after a couple of years, while Jess worked on her law degree for many years after. She always did like to argue. Ray was always quite the intellectual, but he claimed that school was just attempting to dumb him down. Were it anyone else who claimed that, I would have thought them way too arrogant for their own good. But not Ray. As soon as I pulled into the driveway, the garage door opened with my friend standing behind it. His house was nothing especially big or fancy, but it sat alone in a wide open area, with a long road that led directly to the huge carport that sat next to the house.
"This is gonna be the big one, brother,"
Ray said as he ran up to my car before I even had the chance to get out. "What's gonna be the big what?" I asked, chuckling at his childlike enthusiasm.
2 words,
he began to say, before being cut off by his sister pulling into the wide driveway. Jess was with her husband Elijah, who was riding shotgun. He was a pretty good guy, but I can't say I didn't hold just the slightest bit of jealous contempt for him. I'm fairly sure he knew how I felt about his wife, but he was cool enough to let it slide. Ray walked towards his sister and pulled her into a hug as soon as she got out of the car. He smiled at Eli and gave him an acknowledging nod, to which his brother-in-law returned the gesture. He waved us all to follow him into the garage, where he already had some fairly professional-looking blueprints spread across his work table. "You're not serious," Jess exclaimed after glancing down at the prints.
"I worked it all out last night,"
Ray replied with glee in his eyes. "Okay, you've officially watched entirely way too much Rick and Morty," I said, laughing out loud after I looked at the matte sketch of what was labeled Portal Gun. Eli laughed with me while Jess appeared to be trying her best to keep her composure.
"Look, I know it sounds crazy, but I swear to Christ it'll work,"
Ray said, looking between us. His voice sounded a bit pitiful, as we all had clearly hurt his feelings.
Just trust me, guys. I'll make sure we're all partners in this. Just have faith in me.
Ray, you're my closest friend. You know I've always got your back, but this is science fiction, not actual science. To call my friend a genius would be dramatically underselling his intellect. Though I had endless faith in his brilliant mind, I just couldn't wrap my far more simple mind around it. After dropping out of college, Ray started working on a variety of entrepreneurial ventures. I can't necessarily speak to what said work involves, since it's above my pay grade as well as my understanding. By the time he was 25, he held several patents and was worth more than $20 million. That's with only 2 years of college. For him to call this ridiculous idea the big one, I couldn't help but wonder what he considered big. This is exactly what motivated my next question. Are you sure you want to risk your reputation on something like this? He seemed to consider what I said for a moment. He was generally very quick-witted and rarely lost for words. Well, with us anyway. Even with all of his success, he was almost painfully shy and introverted. I was usually the one who he could confide in, which made this whole ordeal even more shocking. He was always close with his sister, and he even took to Eli pretty quickly. He tried to share his wealth with all of us, but Jess was already a very successful lawyer, and I was just too hard-headed to accept any form of charity. I did allow him to invest in my own garage, though. I couldn't rationalize just taking his money as a handout, but he was happy to be a partner in my maintenance shop.
This isn't about the money,
Ray said, breaking the silence that had begun to consume his garage. He looked at each of us with his eyes wide. There was a strange sort of desperation in his face that I had never seen before.
Nothing I have ever done has left a mark on this world. This,
He said, patting his hand on the blueprint.
is my legacy. This could change the world as we know it.
My mind was made up before I looked at Jess and Eli for confirmation. I still thought this was completely nuts, but I had always had my friend's back. I wouldn't change that now, even if I thought his genius was giving way to a touch of madness. Okay, I said, giving him half a smile. What do you need me to do? Ray lit up like a kid on Christmas morning, while Eli and Jess nodded their acceptance of whatever this plan held for them. Though mine would be the hands that would assemble this thing, according to my friend's instructions, I was unsure what roles Jess or Eli would play. For the most part, they had little to no involvement. I assumed Ray just invited them to be a part of it since they were part of our small circle of friends and family. The design was far simpler than I ever could have thought, but my friend had absolutely no doubt it would work. Some parts took some time to get our hands on, and others cost Ray an insane amount of money. He claimed he didn't care about the financial aspect, but I wasn't entirely sure I bought that. Still, I couldn't believe how much he was willing to pay for this ridiculous venture. I had never seen him so blindly driven before. Honestly, he scared the hell out of me sometimes. My friend had always been a calm and composed individual, but he completely lost his shit at times during this process. I had never seen this side of him before, and I even began to fear for his sanity. There were several times during those first few months where he would throw parts across the room or pound on the work table until his knuckles bled. There was something in his eyes at those times that caused me to feel very uncomfortable. He was like a man possessed, more so than one driven by a goal. After 3 months, we finally had our first attempt finished. When Ray aimed it at the wall and pulled the trigger, it did little more than lightly scorch the wood. He flipped out. He screamed at the top of his lungs and launched the gun at the concrete floor. He stomped his foot on it, still yelling and swearing so much that his words didn't even sound like any form of recognizable language anymore. He proceeded to beat and kick anything in sight. He punched the wall until the wood splintered from his blows. As soon as this legendary tantrum started, I got the hell out of there. I just walked around to the back of his house and lit up a cigarette while he tore his garage apart. After a while, his guttural blows didn't cause me to wince anymore, but it was probably a solid hour before he calmed down. "What the hell was that, man?" I asked when Ray finally walked out of the demolished garage.
I'm sorry.
He replied, staring at the ground to avoid any eye contact.
I've just put so much time and money into this. I can't fail.
"Maybe you should just walk away from this for a bit,"
No!
he screamed out as soon as the words left my mouth. "Whoa now," I said, backing away from my friend.
I'm sorry. I mean, they won't, I can't stop now.
"They won't? Who are they?" Ray continued to stutter, but he wouldn't give me a straight answer. He told me he was not feeling very rational at the moment, and not to listen to any of his crazy words. I finally got him settled down, and he agreed to take a few days off to clear his head. I was trying to get him to drop this whole thing, but he wouldn't hear it. We didn't talk for a couple of weeks after that day. It was probably the longest I'd ever gone without talking to him, but he had freaked me out quite a bit. I had got him back into my regular schedule and resigned myself to just wash my hands of this whole ordeal. I felt bad for ditching out on my friend, but I wasn't going to take part in his descent into madness anymore. Just 2 weeks after his meltdown, Ray contacted me again. He apologized for the way he acted and practically begged me to come back and help him.
I worked it out,
he said in a trembling voice. I couldn't tell if he was just nervous about making this apology or if he was getting himself worked up again. After we talked for a little while longer, I agreed to give him one last chance. I can't say I was excited about the prospect of taking part in this endeavor further, but he was my friend. After another 2 months, Ray's portal gun was ready to be tested again. My whole body was shaking as he aimed the gun at the wall of his garage again, and my heart was racing. The device was simple in its design. It was almost shaped like a hairdryer that had cables that ran to the heavy backpack. It made me think of a bad cosplay attempt at a Ghostbusters proton pack. There were blinking lights and a couple of switches on the pack, while the gun itself had 2 knobs and a trigger. One knob was to adjust the diameter of the portal, while the other was to switch between entry and exit points. The toggles in the back were just to power up and activate the thing, and I'm pretty sure the LEDs were just for show. My friend asked me to flip the switches while he aimed the gun at the wall.
Here goes nothing,
he said with his eyes wide and manic. As soon as he pulled back on the trigger, a small glowing circle of orange light appeared on the wall. He turned the first knob and the light widened before my eyes. After he let off of the trigger, the circle of light changed to a perfectly round hole in the wall. He then turned the second knob and aimed at the opposite wall, leaving another equally round hole. There was nothing special about how the openings looked. There wasn't exactly an enter here indicator, but Ray expected that. He told me to just be sure I kept track of which portal came first. My friend grabbed a basketball from a box to the side of the workbench. He gave me a strange look with a crooked half-smile before he tossed the ball through the first hole. Sure enough, as soon as the ball went through the left wall, it came bouncing out of the right. "Holy shit," I said in a monotone voice, as shock would allow me no more than that. After closely examining the basketball, Ray gave me a wink and ran towards the first hole. "No, wait!" I yelled, but he was running back through the right wall before I could even suggest that we run more tests first. He yelled out in a frantic and excited shriek after he arrived back on the other side of the room. We both laughed quite a lot when he thrust his arm through the left side and it popped right out of the opposing wall. "You really did it," I said with a surprised smile.
We did it,
Ray replied with glassy eyes. He asked me to call his sister and ask her to come by. While we awaited her arrival, we conducted a few more tests. I tossed the basketball at the exit portal to see what would happen. Somehow, it couldn't even go through. It just bounced right back at us. We lobbed a variety of things through the origin hole, though we didn't need to prove that worked anymore. Honestly, we just had fun watching them go through one and pop out of the other. After a while, Ray flipped on the backpack switches and both walls returned to their previous state. Still in complete disbelief, I smacked my hands against both walls to find them completely sealed and solid. It would still be a few hours before Jess arrived, so my friend and I just kicked back and celebrated our success with a couple of cigars he had bought for this very occasion. He wanted to hold off on the champagne until his sister arrived, but we still cracked open a couple of beers and clinked them together before chugging down the deliciously cold brew. It was getting dark out when Jess and Eli finally pulled into the driveway. They didn't seem overly amused about coming out here, but they changed their tune after we gave them a demonstration of our accomplishment. They both just stared on with wide eyes and slack jaws as Ray strolled through one wall and out the other. They were at a complete loss for words until we popped open the champagne and passed around glasses. "I can't believe you actually pulled it off," Eli said, barely aware of the drink in his hand. "I always knew you'd change the world, little brother," Jess said with a wide smile. Ray was wearing a proud look on his face as he admired his own work.
If it's like they said, you ain't seen nothing yet,
he remarked halfway to himself. "That's the second time you've mentioned they. Who the hell are they, actually?"
Huh?
My friend replied, seemingly pulled from his own thoughts.
Figure of speech.
I studied his face for a moment. He didn't look like himself right then. His eyes were somewhat manic again, and his lower lip appeared to be twitching. "You okay, man?"
Mm-hmm.
he replied, not taking his eyes away from the portal gun that lay on the table. After a few minutes of an incredibly awkward silence that encompassed the room, Ray reached out and flipped the switches back to the on position. He slung the pack across his back and clutched at the gun in his hand. He turned to meet Eli's curious stare.
Do you trust me?
His whole body looked as though it was shivering slightly. I had no idea what had gotten into him all of a sudden. I had assisted him on a number of projects over the years, from juicing up the turbo on his Mustang to helping him convert a single and cheap drone into something with an incredibly long range. He had so many projects over the years, I couldn't even guess how many different ideas he had, but I had never seen him like this. Eli looked at his wife and then over at me. He seemed uncertain and appeared to be looking for confirmation that he should indeed trust his brother-in-law. Jess just shrugged, but I shook my head. I wouldn't even trust my friend with how he was acting right now. I guess, he said, sounding very unsure whether this was the best response at the moment. Without another word, Ray quickly switched the gun's knob to the exit position. His expression grew even wider when he stretched it out in front of him, aiming the barrel at Eli's midsection. "Well, what are you doing, man?" Elijah said, backing away from Ray.
This is gonna blow your mind,
my friend said in a voice that had grown high-pitched and frantic. "Ray, stop!" I yelled out, but he pulled the trigger before I could attempt to stop him. Jessica screamed out in terror as her husband's eyes went wide and blank. I just stared in shock as the portal appeared to wrap around the center of his body that left the upper and lower level sections detached, held in place by the opening that glowed with a vibrant green light. I did not see the room behind Eli through the hole, but what looked to be a completely alien landscape. With the neon-like hues emitting from the void, it almost resembled gazing through night vision goggles. Jess tried to run to her husband, but I grabbed her arm and held her back. She beat on my chest while screaming out, "What did you do to him?" She yelled as much to me as her brother. I don't know. I don't know what this is." I needed her to know I wasn't a part of whatever the hell this was, but I was in complete horrified shock myself. Ray let the gun drop to the ground beside him, and he held his arms outstretched to his sides as something began to appear from within the portal in Eli's torso. "Oh, my God," I said, as I watched two thin skeletal arms reach out and grip onto Eli's chest and upper thighs with six-fingered, elongated hands. As the creature forced its way out of Jessica's husband, the pressure from its limbs bent Elijah's chest and legs backwards into a horrifying sort of reverse sitting position. He appeared to float in midair, while the portal held the two halves of him together, though I heard the bone snap and tissue tear as a screeching face worked its way out of the hole. The head looked like a deformed human skull, with a greenish-gray skin tightly wrapped around it. The face split in the center to reveal long and widened teeth. As it shrieked, its whole head halved in the middle, making it look like a nightmare version of Pac-Man. It had no eyes, only the wide mouth and stretched skin that continued down to the emaciated and sunken chest that now forced through the void in Eli's body. My senses finally seemed to recover, while the thing was still attempting to escape into this world. I picked Jessica up and ran towards my truck.
No!
Ray screamed out while I was attempting to force the frantic Jess into the passenger seat.
There has to be two!
He yelled as he came running towards us. Behind him, I saw the beast fall to the ground after escaping through Eli's body. Though it lay on the concrete, seemingly exhausted from the transition, it looked to be quite tall. The eerily thin frame was almost humanoid, but each limb looked twice the length of my own. Its whole body looked like an elongated skeleton with that grayed green skin wrapped around the bones. Ray got to the side of my truck and was pulling on the door handle. I had locked it as soon as I got in, but he just kept yanking on it until it broke off in his hand. He screamed out again, and he barely sounded human anymore. He pounded on the window, instantly causing cracks to spiderweb across it. I kicked it into reverse and shot back out of the driveway, leaving my friend to fall to his knees. I took one final glance back to see the portal disappear and two halves of Eli fall to the ground. Clearly, flesh does not recover as well as brick and mortar with such things. Ray attempted to run after me as I sped away from his house, but even if he hadn't still been wearing the heavy backpack, I had the pedal pushed to the floor. Once I was sure I put enough distance between us, I called 911. I had no idea what to tell them, so I just reported a possible homicide at Ray's address. I didn't stop rolling until my truck was running on fumes. Jessica had been catatonic since she watched her husband quite literally fall to pieces before her eyes. But at least she was alive. I considered driving home, but I was certain Ray would go there first if he were searching for his sister and I. I pulled off the interstate to find gas stations and hotels right off the exit. My passenger was still out of it, so I checked us into one of the roadside motels after filling up my gas tank. I went ahead and just got one room with 2 beds, so I could keep an eye on her through the night. I didn't want to creep her out or make her feel like I was holding her hostage, but my head was still spinning from the evening's events. I still couldn't believe my friend had gone so far off the deep end. Had this been his plan all along? Had he just been using me to bring whatever the hell that was into this world? Jess just lay in the bed across from me, still shaking all over. I would have to try and get her help soon. Hell, I'd have to get myself help for that matter. Her body was faced away from me, so I walked over to where she lay to check on her. She was out, thankfully. I could only hope that rest would help her troubled mind. It was just when I was about to attempt to lay down myself that my phone rang. I was apprehensive at first, unsure if it might be Ray attempting to contact me, but no. Given the bizarre circumstances the police found when they arrived at my friend's house, I'd have to make a statement as to the events that took place. The detective told me they found some video footage at the scene, and I would be required to make a statement. He sounded confident that I wouldn't be facing any charges, but they needed to hear my account of what happened. I couldn't help but wish I had taken the time to locate the payphone before placing the 911 call, but I wasn't exactly thinking straight. I made arrangements to have someone pick up Jessica in the morning, at which point I would make my way to the police station. I was still very uncertain of what to expect, but I knew Jess was going to be in need of some serious psychological care. The investigator was actually far more understanding of my apprehension and concerns than I would have expected. An ambulance arrived at the motel just a couple of hours later. Jessica was still out of it, but the paramedics assured me that they would get her the care she needed. After they took off, I headed back towards the city I fled from only a handful of hours before. Having driven for longer than I realized the previous night, it took me a while to arrive at the station back in Ray's neck of the woods. My thoughts were all over the place, but I just wanted this nightmare to be over. Detective Leary was waiting for me in his office when I arrived. He was an older guy, but I think he appeared more aged than he really was. He had thin brown hair that had receded back a good bit. He wore a thick mustache and rimless glasses. He spoke in a friendly tone, but his expression appeared quite stern. There were 2 other individuals in the room when I walked in, but they showed no motivation to introduce themselves. They both wore dark suits and had a similarly cold expression on their faces. They were both maybe in their mid-30s. The shorter of the 2 had a shaved head, while the other sported a blonde buzz cut. Neither of them said a word while they just stared at the back of the room. The detective told me the 2 men were in charge of the investigation, though he would be the one asking the questions. I knew nothing about the room's inhabitants, but Leary came off a little intimidated by the duo in the nice suits. It's very possible he was just one of those particularly skittish people, but given the pictures on the walls of seemingly very important individuals shaking the detective's hand, I had to assume it was just that these particular men made him nervous. At the officer's request, I recounted the events of the previous day, along with the details of the project we had worked on the past few months. It was a grueling conversation, and retelling these facts caused me to physically wince multiple times. I don't think I had allowed myself to really take in everything that happened until this very moment. By the time I was finished with my story, I found myself just staring at the desk I sat in front of, barely holding on to my own sanity. Nobody said anything after I told my side of things, until Leary asked me to step outside for a moment. I shook my head to snap out of my vacant stare and just nodded to the man before walking out the door. A good 30 or 40 minutes passed before I was invited back in. As soon as I strolled through the open door, the 2 silent men walked quickly past me, without so much as glancing in my direction. "They seem friendly," I remarked to the detective before the 2 were out of earshot. "You have no idea." Leary went on to explain that the men in the finely tailored suits were against the idea of me seeing what he wanted to show me. He told me he thought I had a right to view the video footage they had found. "This may be tough to watch, and I'm sure you're going to need a truckload of therapy after this, so it's completely your call," he said, holding the remote control to the monitor that sat on the other side of his desk. I considered his words for some time before I reluctantly agreed to watch the tape. I wasn't quite ready to face the reality of everything that had occurred, but I had to know what happened next. As the video began to play, I wondered when exactly Ray had begun recording. I asked the detective to fast forward through the events I witnessed firsthand and basically cut to the chase. I stared on with wide eyes as the video sped through the horrific act that had been forced on Elijah. Poor guy didn't even have a chance. I have no doubt that even if he had denied Ray's question of trust, he would have still met the same fate. Leary started playing the tape again, and I watched my truck speed away from the house with my friend screaming out after me. The skeletal creature still lay on the concrete at the garage, while Ray erratically paced back and forward.
"There has to be 2.
He was muttering over and over to himself as he walked from side to side across his lawn.
"There's no time. No time for more. No time at all."
He continued, sounding more and more maniacal with every word.
"Just wanted to share. Share with them. But no, they wouldn't. No time. Has to be 2. No time now."
He went on and on, just repeating the same thoughts, each time more harried than the last.
"No time,"
he said somberly, as he came to a halt in front of the gray and green thing on the floor.
"Has to be done. No time left,"
he remarked one last time, before he picked the gun back up off the ground. It had been dragging behind him as he darted back and forth, still wearing the heavy backpack. He stared back into the camera that had apparently been mounted close to the rear of his garage. He didn't say another word. He just raised the gun up slowly and planted the barrel into his own mouth. Since he directed the portal into his own throat, I could not see the opening form. He just stood there with his head tilted back while both of his arms dropped to his side and the gun fell back to the ground. For minutes, he just stared motionlessly up at the sky. I audibly gasped when the long, bony fingers reached out of his mouth. They gripped the sides of his face and forced the opening wider, splitting and tearing the flesh. I fought against the lump forming in my own throat as I looked on while Ray's face was ripped and his skull cracked and splintered. His neck bulged open and tore while sharp twigs of rib bones pierced out of his chest. What was left of his head gave way as the thing forced its way out. Chunks of bloody meat and scarlet tissue fell to the ground, each part sounding more moist and sticky than the last. By the time the creature fell to the ground beside the other, which had only now begun to move, my friend was completely split apart from the abdomen up. He still stood in place, with his hands almost touching the ground, as what remained of his shoulders now hung by his waistline. Leary turned off the tape after that last part, but I just stared blankly at the screen. He wouldn't give me any insight into the investigation, nor would he tell me if the creatures were still there when the police arrived. I was asked to sign an agreement that I would not speak of this, but I assumed nobody would believe me anyway. I kept my word until now. It's been about a year since that awful night, and I've been attending regular therapy since. Jess is still in the mental institution, but she finally started speaking again a few months back. I make sure to visit her at least once a week, and she's slowly coming back to herself, though I highly doubt she'll ever be the same as she was before all of this madness. I have no way of knowing whatever happened to the monstrous beings that were birthed through my friends by way of the portal gun I helped create. I can't speak to the location of said invention either. Whether it's connected or not, I've been receiving calls from Ray's phone the last few days. I finally broke down and answered it last night. I don't know how, but it was my friend's voice on the other end. He sounded different, which isn't surprising, as his head was fragmented into bony and bloody chunks. Somehow, I believe it was him, though I have no idea how that could even be possible.
2 more. Has to be 2 more.
I immediately hung up the phone and threw it to the ground. I stomped the damned thing with the heel of my foot until it was just a scattering of plastic and glass. I can't be sure of what those words meant, but I'm not sticking around to find out. I'm packing my shit and getting the hell out of Dodge. Hopefully, I can convince Jess to come with me. If I can even get her out of the institution she's in. Either way, I won't wait around long to see what happens next. I can't know what my friend's true motivation was behind all of this. Just please understand, I never would have let it go this far if I could have known what he intended. He said we would change the world together. Alrighty, let's see. Came back just in time. What I'm gonna do now is play for y'all. Let's see. There is 10 minutes of recording for the tribal office for the tribal story I did. I'm going to play that real quick. And we're either going to... I still need like 10 minutes to do some stuff around the house real quick. So I'm going to play this tribal story to catch y'all up. And then I'm either going to just continue the tribal reading or work on one of these stories up here. here we go, he yelled. I could barely hear him over the screams. I jumped to my feet in time to turn around and see the door fly open. As the metal door slid into place where the window was, I saw what broke the door down. It was the woman from the woods. Jay will return, she yelled as she bolted to the window. The speed she traveled... What? I stammered. How? When I looked back ahead, I saw everyone else had stopped. Before I could react, I ran into Smith. He didn't even budge an inch. It felt like running into a wall. Shit, why did you stop running? Everyone was standing in the middle of the hallway. I looked around and counted 4 people, 3 men and a woman, all in suits. They were all frozen and shaking in fear. Jay, don't run, the woman in the suit said. I looked straight ahead and saw that the woman was standing 10 feet in front of us. Something felt off. When I looked past the woman in front of us, I saw what caused the 2 thuds on the wall earlier. Oh my God, I said. The 2 men in riot gear that held me down earlier were pinned to the wall on either side of the door. The woman had taken their batons and driven it through their chests and into the wall, holding them up about 2 feet off of the ground. They were cut up to the point of almost being unrecognizable. On the wall above the door, written in their blood, was, Jay will return. What do you want from me? I yelled. Immediately after, every light flickered and went out, one by one until it was pitch black. Where's the emergency lights? One man asked. There was a deafening scream, followed by the sounds of footsteps. It was the same footsteps I heard in the clearing. Jay will return. The lights came back on with a loud click. The woman was gone.
Who's still breathing?
I am, I answered. When I looked around, though, it was just me and Smith. Where's everyone else? The 2 bodies were still in the wall in front of us, but there was no sign of the group we were just with.
No clue. There's not even a trace of anyone else.
We walked around the corner and heard coughing. You hear that too, right? Smith nodded and opened the door to his left.
Hey, you okay?
The room was dark and I couldn't see who Smith was talking to. Who is it? I asked. Just then I saw Will walk through the doorway.
Holy shit, you're alive?
Will asked. Why would you think otherwise?
The woman broke down your door. All I could hear after that was screaming. When I finally got out of the room, she had just finished with the 2 standing guard. I closed the door and tried to hide. Next thing I knew, Smith here opened the door.
Great reunion, but we need to fucking go.
We followed Smith through the maze of hallways and doors. We finally arrived at a big red one. Is this the way out?
Yeah,
Smith said. He walked over to a panel on the side of the door and pressed a button.
let's hope it's not on lockdown.
A siren alarmed and then the door began to open. When the door opened enough to see outside, my stomach dropped. There was a dirt trail leading from the door into a dense forest.
What in the fresh hell is this?
Will asked. The light from the room we stood in lit up the trail of blood that started at the door and led off the trail and into the... all right, question, everybody. Sorry to break that up. Probably go until about 10 o'clock, so would y'all like to... another half hour, I should say. Would y'all like to finish listening, catching up with this story, and then reading more of Tribal Officer, or start working on this new story, Guardians of the Storm? I'll wait about a minute till some replies come in. All right, let's see. Give me a... Okay, sweet. All right. Connection. Sorry about that. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. Let's see. Oh, disconnected again. Are you serious? Come on. Come on. What's going on here? Come on. All right. Looks like it's good. Looks like it's back to normal. Made it pretty far. I mean, we made it 2.5 hours with no interruptions on my internet, so that's not too bad. Let's see. All right. Good. Let me just listen to the stream. Make sure it's still working. All right, sweet. I don't know if my voice was up when you know what? Let's just. All right, we listen to that. Save. So many tabs open. All right. Yeah, what did y'all want to do? Did y'all want to finish catching up on Tribal or just start this new story up? Let's see. Captain Slade, Stranger. All right, we did shrink wrap. You know, let's just work on this new one. And now people who are in here won't be confused listening to a story that's halfway done. All right. There's a storm coming. Are you ready? The stranger asked. Storm coming. Are you ready? The stranger asked. I couldn't see his face as he was hidden by the darkness. We'll say I'm drinking some Diet Coke right now, so you might have a couple burps pop out here. Get a little hiccup. Amanda, you practically are. I'll take it. Couldn't see his face as he was hidden by the darkness. I could make out his mouth to a point, his pure white teeth almost glowing through the pitch-black surroundings. A storm? Why do I need to be ready for that? It's not the storm, but what awaits within you. Wait, what awaits within you should fear. Here, let me turn this. No, I do not want it. I need to turn my dark reader off, but then this whole screen's gonna turn white, and that's just gonna blind me. All right. It is not the storm, but what awaits within you. All right, so there just should be 2 U's there. Let's see. Storm, but what awaits within you. Here we go. Why do I need to be ready for that? It is not the storm, but what awaits within you should fear. Are you ready for that? Are you prepared to stay? I don't understand. Why can't you just tell me what... Also, what's the word count? 6,700. So this is a 40-minute story. So we'll get like halfway through this. I don't understand. Why can't you just tell me what... I felt my words catch in my throat. I was unable to convince them to even reach my mouth, let alone escape out into the world. Though I had been unable to see anything at first when the sky lit up with such vibrant flashes of lightning, I could make out the silhouette of the man. You know what, give me like 2 minutes real quick. I mean, I hate when there's no background music for y'all. And it does make the story a little better when you just have something to listen to. Give me like 2 minutes, and let me see if I can throw together a quick Mayu playlist on stories that I know don't get copyright struck. Let's see. Excuse me. Let's see. This one. All right, that doesn't save to playlist. That doesn't. That sometimes does. Don't do that. This should be good. Sound should be there, right? Yeah, I hear myself. I mean, I stopped recording for a second. Let's see. Manic, I'll send you that over Patreon. I'll send you a message. Remind if I don't send it to you tonight, just message me and I'll try to send you that. I'll send you. I don't have one fleshed out yet, y'all, but I do have a Discord that I should be giving to members and Patreon members. So I need to set that up. I have a Discord made. I just have no chat rooms and discussion rooms in there. Oh yeah, y'all, it might have, let me just type, internet went down for a sec, might need to refresh. Yeah, I have a Discord set up. I just need to fine tune it and actually put rooms in there, and then I'm going to start giving that out to members and Patreon members. All right, let's see. I'm setting up a quick little playlist for some music because I don't like that these are completely like silent, these lives. All right, and I like y'all know I wanted Silent Turmoil to just play on a loop, but it wouldn't. Let's see. Play that. Alrighty, Cool Beans. Cool Beans. That should do it. Now let me click on it and drag it over. All right, and let me know if it's too loud or if you can barely even hear it at all. Let me, let's see. Yeah, I refreshed it on my phone, and I hear myself fine, so... Alright, let's go back to the story. Yeah, my internet, it did good. It lasted a while. Alright, let me just play this from the beginning for y'all. There's a storm coming. Are you ready? The stranger asked. I couldn't see his face as he was hidden by the darkness. I could make out his mouth to a point, his pure white teeth almost glowing through the pitch-black surroundings. A storm? Why do I need to be ready for that? It is not the storm, but what awaits within you should fear. Are you ready for that? Are you prepared to stay? I don't understand. Why can't you just tell me what... I felt my words catch in my throat. I was unable to convince them to even reach my mouth, let alone escape out into the world. Though I had been unable to see anything at first when the sky lit up with such vibrant flashes of lightning, I could make out the silhouette of the man. He just stood in place, holding a black umbrella above his head, still shielding his appearance from me. When the scarlet rain began to cast down upon us, I no longer attempted to focus on the stranger, only on the heavy, blood-like drops as they quickly formed pools around our feet. A decision must be made. Once you choose, your fate is sealed. When my eyes blinked open, I was sitting straight up in my bed, momentarily confused and somewhat dazed. The dream felt more real and at the same time more surreal than any I had ever experienced. I could still hear that deeply haunting voice reverberating against my eardrums, as though he stood in the corner of my bedroom still holding his umbrella. I chalked it up to nothing more than good old-fashioned nerves, with this being my first day of a new job. I'd done some security work here and there over the past few years, so I assumed my new responsibilities as a bona fide park ranger wouldn't be much different. I'd been through orientation and the like over the previous days, even though I would only be a glorified temp until I could prove one way or another that I could handle the full-time responsibilities. After the meet and greet with the others who worked the morning shift, Slade, the guy they referred to as the Chief or simply Cap, called me back into his office. He was an older guy, maybe around 50 or so, but he was a good bit taller than me and quite stocky. He looked like someone you don't want to be disrespectful or rude to. I most definitely didn't want to get on his bad side anyway. We talked back and forth for a while, just shooting the shit and getting to know each other a bit. He asked if I saw this as something I could see myself making a lifelong career out of, but I couldn't give him a straight answer on that. It was my first day after all. He seemed understanding to my stuttered reply when I tried to come up with something to say to his question at least. Once the small talk was out of the way, he got up from his seat, shook my hand, and led me towards the door to his office. He reached out for the latch before hesitating, glancing over to me and placing his hand on my shoulder. All right, so this might be a little confusing. Let me just explain what I'm about to do. So hopefully I get these lines from Dexter. Hopefully he agrees to do Slade for me. I asked him the other night. Hopefully he's got time. What I'm going to do is, when I get lines from somebody, it's hard to know. Basically, I just have to leave a gap right here. So whenever someone's lines come up, I'm going to leave a little gap, like this, and then record. So that way when I look at this recording to paste his lines in, I'll know exactly where the gap is, because the gap's where his lines are, and then I'll know to go there. Dex, you're back. So if he does them, I'll, that's where the gap will be. So then I'll just do the line. And then, when y'all hear the story from this that I put out in maybe 4 or 5 days, y'all will hear the real voice actor in there. Once you see them, they see you too, he told me, staring into my eyes with such intensity I felt my spine stiffen. Huh? There are a lot of strange things out there, but nothing else like 'em. You best be sure if you want to stick around before the rain comes. I'm sorry, sir, I don't know what you're... Get a feel for the job. Get the routines down and get to know the rest of the guys. We're a family around here. More so than that. I just continued to stare back at him, feeling more puzzled by the second. To be honest, I thought he was just messing with me, hazing the new guy and all. Still, he was getting up in years, so I thought he may well have been a bit... well, I was sure he meant well anyway. Wait, that's a kind of a funny... Oh, nice, Dex. How'd they like it, man? How'd they like it? Still, he was getting up, so I thought he may well have been a bit, well, I was sure I don't know what the hell that means, but we'll go with it. There's a storm coming, son. Best be sure before it gets here, he said, finally pulling the door open. His words instantly flashed me back to the bizarre dream from the night before, but I was certain it was nothing more than a coincidence. There had been something of a drought of late. I couldn't even remember the last time it rained, so it had to come sooner or later. I just chalked the shared sentiment between my new boss and the stranger in my dream as nothing more than my subconscious longing for the rain to come and cool off the world some. He handed me a set of keys, warning me to never be without them. The keychain that dangled from the 8 or so keys of various shapes and sizes was the same unusual symbol that was mounted to the outside wall of the ranger station. I didn't pay much attention at the time, as I assumed it simply represented whatever company may own or operate things around these parts. But I would learn to damn sure do what he advised, and keep them on me at all times. As that first week progressed, I grew to very much enjoy the job, as well as the company of my fellow employees. Since I had technically signed on for seasonal work, there was potential for it becoming a full-time thing, so I tried to learn everything I could to give myself a better shot. I worked at staggered shifts those first few weeks, working with just about all the other rangers to get all the different perspectives. Let me take a little sippy sip here. Yes, we very much did. We is they on the Bigfoot story. Awesome. Did you play the Portals outro for the audience here? Oh, let me see if let me no, I didn't, because I played the actual story. Let me pull your lines up real quick.
2 more. Has to be 2 more. Be very, very quiet.
Let's hide the sausage together.
Now you're thinking with portals.
This is why I love Dexter, guys. Oh, man. He is a goofball. It's about all the other rangers to get all the different perspectives. They were a friendly group, but Rick, the graveyard shift guy, was a bit twitchy and nervous for someone hovering right about 30 years old. He was a slender, shaggy-haired guy, but he looked like he had some muscle on him. There were scars up and down the length of both of his forearms, but I assumed that may have been from his time overseas, and likely a factor for his troubled mind. "You hear some crazy shit out here when the sun goes down," he said more than once over the days we worked together. "What kind of crazy shit?" I asked, honestly quite curious as to what would qualify as such, given all the wildlife around. Hard to say, really. Just, I don't know. Unnatural, I suppose. But, I mean, like, how so? Weird animal noises? Squealing tires of cars and such? Maybe people messing around? What? Hiccups, excuse me. I guess a bit of everything in a way, you know. Nope. Don't know. I might have peeked there. Round? What? Nope. Don't know, I replied with a laugh. Ew. Gross. Sorry. This Diet Coke, guys. You'll understand more when you see 'em. Later, Dex. Probably too late, but probably missed you, but later, bro. You'll understand more when you see 'em, he said, attempting to laugh with me. Kinda open your eyes some, though. Best if you don't, see 'em. Who are they? I asked, making air quotes with my fingers. Cap said something about them my first day, but... Wait a second. What? Cap said something about them my first day. Who the fuck is he talking to? Oh, this is Rick. Damn, I gotta unhighlight these because I sent these red lines to Dexter, thinking that was the captain talking. Oops. Unhighlight. That's a good thing. I highlighted these and I didn't read the story, so I'm just speed highlighting these things, you know. Just working on speed reading and whatnot. So it's a good thing that I caught this. I mean, it'd have been fine, but he would have sent me this for nothing. All right. Is this where the captain starts talking again? I think so. Let's go ahead and get back. First day, but fuck, I should have just. Nah, it's whatever. It's a. Hold on, I might just have to redo. I do not want to redo all that. Maybe I'll. Fuck. Maybe I can just get someone else to do those. Let me think. Give me a sec. Because if I don't get someone to do it, then I gotta do it. And if I do it, I might as well do it right now. All right, let's just rewind all the way back to, what's this? He said more than once over the days we worked. All right. See, this is where you see some of the annoying parts. You know, let me just, you're going to see me do a little bit of Frankenstein in here. For his troubled mind. Let me just pick a voice. Fuck, it went all the way over there. Come on. Where? No, I want you to record here. Yeah, it's going to go all the way back there again. Come on. What if I do this? Oh, you son of a bitch. All right, fine. I'll just record it, then I got to copy and paste it over. You hear some crazy shit out here when the sun goes down. All right, and then watch. Got to copy it. And then... for his troubled mind. Paste it there. That's too long of a pause. All right, then I'm going to slide this all the way over. Then we go all the wildlife around. It's giving all the wildlife around. Okay. There. Hard to say, really. Just, I don't know. Unnatural, I suppose. All right, copy. Paste. Not enough room. Now I gotta slide to the right. Slide to the left. All right. You hear some. I guess a bit of everything in a way. You know? You'll understand when you see him. Oh, wait, and then... nope. You'll understand when you see him. All right, let me just listen to that. I guess a bit of everything in a way, you know? But, I mean, like, how so? Okay, so good thing I checked that, because that's not in the right order. Really? To say, really? Even all the wildlife around. All right. Hard to say, really. Well, I suppose. Like, how so? Natural, I suppose. But, I mean, like, how so? Weird animal noises? Squealing tires of cars and such? Maybe people messing around? What the fuck is with this fucking playlist? Dude, what is YouTube doing? I make a playlist and it doesn't stick to it. 1 second. This is fucking ridiculous. I don't know what the... There's no way I went through all those songs. I do not understand what this thing is doing. It's like it does like a song or two, and then it hops off of the fucking playlist. This is driving me insane. Loop it. All right. Maybe people messing around? What? What? I guess a bit of everything in a way, you know? But you'll understand. Nope. Like, I mean, like, how so? Where is that? Okay, so pasted that already. Who are they? I with a laugh. Don't know, I reply with. You'll. You see him? Said a Don't know. All right. Thank you for bearing with me there. And now we're going to listen to it all again from here to make sure I didn't copy and paste something in the wrong spot. And then, make sure you didn't hear like the same line twice. One thing that drove me nuts is I spent a lot of time on that Orphan Source video and that I just uploaded. And then there's 2 spots where the audio overlaps. Around like 30 minutes, it overlaps for like 2 seconds. Or for like 2 words. And then around like the 52-minute mark, it overlaps for like 5 words. And that drove me nuts. They were a friend. They were a friendly group, but likely a factor for his troubled mind. You hear some crazy shit out here when the sun goes down, he said more than once over the days we worked together. What kind of crazy shit? I asked, honestly quite curious as to what would qualify as such, given all the wildlife around. Hard to say, really. Just, I don't know, unnatural, I suppose. But, I mean, like, how so? Weird animal noises? Squealing tires of cars and such? Maybe people messing around? What? I guess a bit of everything in a way, you know? Nope, don't know, I reply with a laugh. You'll understand when you see him, he said, attempting to laugh with me. All right, sweet. It's all good. It's all good. Eating good in the neighborhood. Attempting to laugh with me, he said, attempting to laugh with me. Kinda open your eyes some, though. Best if you don't know. He said, attempting to laugh with me. Kinda open your eyes some, though. Best if you don't, see him. Who are they? I asked, making air quotes with my fingers. Cap said something about them on my first day, but can't say what they are on account of the fact I don't really know. Can't even see them, all the time, just when it rains, I guess. I know they're there, though. Can feel them looking back at me. Just... He sort of drifted off while he spoke, just gazing out the window. Whether he was looking at them out there in the dark, I didn't know. In all honesty, I didn't buy it at all. That's something... When we hit the 10-minute mark, guys, I'm going to head off for the night, just so y'all know, because we've hit the 3-hour mark. Yeah, I know. It made me so mad, too, because it overlapped on Whispering Scream's voice for like 5 words, and I was like, no! I edited that video with Adobe Audition, which is new to me, and I was doing some things that We Try Horror showed me, and I was he gave me a template for something, and I was cutting and pasting and dragging and dropping, and those two sections I overlapped, one for like a second, the other one for like 3 seconds. Let's see. I didn't buy it at all. In all honesty, I didn't buy it at all. That something out there was only visible in the rain? But Rick looked troubled. Craig, one of the early shift boys, told me that Rick had some lingering PTSD from his time in Afghanistan, and he wasn't all there anymore. For the most part, he seemed like a good dude, but he had seen some shit. His eyes revealed that much. Were it not for Captain Slade, my nose is a little stuffy. I just held back a sneeze, so I'm going to be a little stuffed for like 3 minutes. Good seeing you, King Frankie. You're not going to miss much. I'm out of here in like 2 or 3 minutes myself, too. Have a good night, brother. Shit. His eyes revealed that much. Were it not for Captain Slade having dropped the warning about the elusive them when I started, I wouldn't pay Rick's words any mind. But it had most certainly piqued my curiosity. Are they dangerous? I asked after the room fell silent for a while. Okay, is this Captain Slade? But from Rick's... I love William Rain, but sometimes he's not very clear on who's talking. See, this could be Craig, because he just brought up Craig, or it could be Rick. About to talk. Fortunately, I guess it doesn't really fucking matter. Asked after the room fell silent for a while. Not sure, honestly. But some of the other things are. All kind of things out there. Gets more clear when you see 'em, though. The more he spoke in almost frustrating riddles, the more uneasy I felt. Not from the elusive them, but from Rick's seemingly troubled mind. Fortunately, the shift had almost reached its end by this point. I had grown more awkward and somewhat uncomfortable the longer we shared each other's company. Alright, so that was Rick's voice. I'll see you, alley-oops. That was Rick's voice. Fuck, I gotta go re-record it. And fell silent. Just after the room fell silent for a while. Not sure, honestly. But some of the other things are. All kind of things out there. Gets more clear when you see 'em, though. The more he spoke in his almost frustrating riddles, the more uneasy I felt. Not from the elusive them, but from Rick's seemingly troubled mind. Fortunately, the shift had almost reached its end by this point. I had grown more awkward and somewhat uncomfortable the longer we shared each other's company. So when the chalk... Alright, Amanda, I will catch you later. Everybody else, once I hit that 10-minute mark on the story, it'll be deuces for me too. And somewhat uncomfortable the longer we shared each other's company. Where is that at? Actually, you know what? This is at the top of the... Let me finish this paragraph. And somewhat uncomfortable the longer we shared each other's company. So when the clock chimed to signify the morning crew should be arriving any minute, I almost jumped to my feet, ready my escape. Chimed to signify the morning crew should be arriving any minute. I almost jumped to my feet to ready my escape. And there it is, everyone. Guardians of the Storm. Mandizzlefo Shizzle, thank you for stopping by, Amanda. Awesome to have you all in here. Thank you all so much for joining another live. We will be back here next week, Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time again. This should be a regular thing. I cannot thank you all enough for stopping by, for the super chats, for the memberships, all that stuff. I cannot thank you enough. That's what allows me to do these lives and take off work 1 day a week now to do these for y'all. It keeps the bills paid, keeps the lights on. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for letting me do something that I enjoy and something that I love doing. I love bringing these stories to y'all, and I really love doing these lives too. They're super fun for me. I love interacting with y'all. Reading the stories live is really cool. It keeps me motivated, keeps me going, especially for longer stretches at a time. Peace and love, Kev, aka Double N. The morning comes early. That's right, Nikki. All right, and thank you for the people who the new ones showed up for this one. Awesome having y'all in here. Let's see. Appreciated it, and thanks for chatting. I love the chat. You know, half of the live stream is interacting with you guys, which I love. So, as always, thanks for listening, everybody.